Hello and welcome to Draft Day. My name is John Fleming. I am one of the hosts of Draft Day. I am joined as usually, not always, if last week was any indication, but as usually by Jason Bradshaw. I am recording this episode on July 3rd in a neighborhood that loves to shoot off fireworks. So if you hear even more of the dog barking than normal, I apologize. But Jason, how are you doing?
I'm good, man. It's good to be back. I you know, missed you all last week, but you and P Funk held down the fart. Yeah,
And
fort.
fart?
I don't know, man. I'm
You are
kind of in the
you are
South,
so St. Louis.
yeah, farty far. But no, man, I'm good. Apologies for having to miss last week. Just some obligations with the fam and whatnot. So excited to get away from our normal drafts after a few weeks and get back to one of our ridiculous things. And I think the guest we bring in here is just, it has to be a ridiculous draft if we bring him in now, I think, at this point. So,
Yeah, this is the closest we've come to the episode that was the three of us since that episode. Of course, referencing our Oscar draft. And we are joined by Tyler Cox. Tyler, how are you?
I'm doing great, guys. I'm excited to be here. I at times felt a little in over my head on the Oscar draft, but I think you guys found my wheelhouse today. I'm gonna have a lot of fun with this one.
All right, good. And once we get around to drafting, you're going to have the first overall pick, which was earned through an actual process that suggests knowledge of what we're drafting, which is music. We are venturing into the world of music, and specifically, we are going to be drafting our favorite number one songs of the 2000s, the decade from 2000 to 2009. Each of us will be selecting one song per year, create our own little 10-song playlist. We'll go over the rules in a little bit once we get to actually drafting. But before we start drafting our favorite songs of the 2000s, figured that we should, be a little bit contemporary for once. The 2000s was a time that we all grew up in, and so it's near and dear to our hearts in that way. We may eventually venture into music from before we were born, but we're not there yet. But in preparation of this, just to kind of get the ball rolling on the kind of rankings that we had to do in order to prepare for this draft, all three of us have ranked our top three favorite number one songs so far of the year 2024. So if this were the actual draft we were doing, we'd probably have these rankings up, and then once one of us took the song, we'd have to scratch it off, but keep on going down. And does anybody have a preference on who leads off? And I would say whoever starts the countdown. We can start at number three, and then we all give our number threes. Just keep going in that order. Sound good?
Yeah.
All right. Tyler, you're our guest. Why don't you start off with your number three song of 2024 among the number
Yeah,
ones so far?
definitely. I similar to like the Oscar, excuse me, the Oscar one. That the whole Oppenheimer, Barbenheimer got me really back into movies. Really, this year I got really back into keeping tabs on pop music, and I have been having a lot of fun with a lot of the new artists that have come out. And the my number three is actually a new artist whose lead single is probably her most popular, but my number three is her next single, and that's "Please, Please, Please" by Sabrina Carpenter. I am just a sucker for the like Talking Heads little intro. The way she says "motherfucker" just makes me laugh. It's just a fun, I don't know, it's just a fun pop song that gets stuck in your head. It's grown on me. Asked me a few weeks ago, it probably wouldn't have been number three, but it just keeps making a climb. So right now, I got Sabrina Carpenter. Please, please, please.
I remember the first time I heard that song, I was kind of down on it. I liked the song "Espresso" more by her, but it's grown on me a little bit. It's not in my list. I will give that away, but merited consideration. So that's my primary takeaway about that particular song. Do you have any thoughts on "Please, Please, Please," Jason, or
I
just
have
venturing
never
into?
heard the song.
It was the number one song like a week ago, so I'm keeping up with the kids apparently.
Bro, you know what kind of music plays in my house? 90% of the time, it's like bluey, blippy Disney music. I don't know pop music unless my wife introduces me to it.
Well, Sabrina Carpenter she's part of like the Disney extended universe, isn't she? Or is that
She
Yes.
was on
Nickelodeon? Or
Girl Meets World on Disney Channel, which I
okay,
was a fan of the
yeah.
show. You know, she's trying to pull the Ariana Grande kind of thing, going from the kids show to being fully in the pop scene. Very different artists, the two of them, though, from what I gather. But
They have pretty similar tastes in men based on Ariana Grande's now former husband and the fact that Sabrina Carpenter's dating Barry Keoghan, which is their taste is for men that are from the British Isles and are ugly. So I applaud I applaud both of them, honestly. Whether
I
I'm
mean,
referencing the men or the women, I'll let everybody decide.
I mean, but yeah, that's about the extent of my knowledge of the pop music. I had to literally listen to like two or three of these songs just to not pick the only three I've heard of, one of which is a song that is very, very old. It was number one to start the year.
Oh
So,
God. Yeah, I will say I did not put "All I Want for Christmas Is You" by Mariah Carey on there because even though it is a banger of a song, I'm getting kind of sick of it. Like it's gonna ruin any music draft from the 2020s
but
onward because it's just number one every year.
wasn't Rocket, but I think Rocking Around the Christmas Tree is the one that was first this year, though. Not
That's
All I Want
correct.
for Christmas Is You, is Brenda Lee, baby. We're going old.
Oh, I just straight up don't like that song, so maybe that's
Oh, wow, that's a hot take.
Say, we'll save that one for a holiday draft. And
Jeez.
yeah.
but
Just
I did not
Well,
put
and
it in
enjoy
my.
your rockabilly.
I I am pretty old in my soul, I guess. So that's fine.
All right, what's your number three, Jason?
So my number three is a song that I fought for a very long time, but heard a lot on the radio and didn't want to admit I liked it. But I'm gonna go "Love It on Me" by Jack Harlow at number three.
Is that are we looking at a different list? Hold
I'm
on, let
looking at
me.
a I'm looking at a gold derby list that told me all the number one songs of the
I
Billboard Hot
had
100.
I went to Billboard Hot 100 as well. And I saw "Lovin' on Me" hit. It went twice.
Say
Okay,
this thing has it at number one 5 weeks on the list I'm looking at. So
okay, yeah, I should probably double check my list then because otherwise we might be just reading off a completely bizarre and incorrect list. If one of you can text me the link to where you got it from, just so I can cross check, I would appreciate it. But I do know the song "Lovin' on Me." I just wasn't familiar with it being a number one song this year.
I mean, I'll be honest. I just went off the Wikipedia page, Billboard Hot 100 number ones of 2024.
so I literally I took it from a website called Gold Derby, which sort of does like fantasy style pick 'em for like the Oscars and stuff like that. But they're just kind of a general entertainment site as well.
Let's give this a little look see.
You can tell the pre-production meetings on this are banging, guys.
They're robust, yes.
They totally exist.
Sources.
Rest assured, for the actual draft, everybody, we had one single sheet that we were all working from. So we're at least on the same page for that.
Okay, so this is the same list that I was going off of, with the exception of "Rockin' Around the Christmas Tree" and "Lovin' on Me." All the other ones were part of it, and all the songs that I picked are on here, so should be good.
Okay, cool. But yeah, I don't know. It's a fun song. I don't really have a lot to add. Like, none of these songs are like super deep. Like, I think they're great songs or anything. But I had fun with it. So,
All right.
and Jack Harlow, I
He
finally
was
started to listen to his stuff, despite being very popular for a while and terrible in the White Man Can't Jump remake.
It's not in my top 3, but I get the appeal. It's not a bad song.
So,
Doesn't do
so
anything for me
one,
though.
I never saw the White Man Can't Jump remake, but I got extremely angry at the character that was like a remake of the Woody Harrelson character from the movie, apparently advocating for the movies of Paul Thomas Anderson. That is not a thing that character would be into.
Yeah.
Just imagining Woody Harrelson being like, "Yeah, I'm really into Phantom Thread." Come on, what are we doing here? Love It On Me was not in consideration because I didn't know it was a number one, but it's fine. I think Jack Harlow is one of those artists that's kind of becoming like a fashionable target. Like I remember when he did the halftime show at the Thanksgiving NFL game, people were complaining about his performance, and it felt really like they were just like preparing for him to start so they could issue their pre-written complaints. My primary take. I can't really blame him for the Paul Thomas Anderson line. I don't think he wrote it.
Yeah, nah, I think he's just doing what he's told there.
All right, my number 3 my number 3 song is an artist that is been around quite a bit longer than either of yours. I went with Texas Hold'em by Beyonce. I
Oh,
think that in general, the Beyonce country album was a lot more uneven than people cared to admit whenever it came out, because there's this like natural urge that everything Beyonce does has to be declared the greatest thing that's ever been recorded, the greatest human being that's ever existed doing it. But I thought it was just like a fun and interesting song, and I think kind of challenging like perceptions about like what country music is, even though like it's like kind of straightforward in what it is. It's not like the like Old Town Road thing where like you can hear the country influence, but like it's a rap song. We don't have to like pretend that it's like you know being influenced by like Willie Nelson or whatever. But Texas Hold'em, I enjoyed. I admittedly, it feels like it kind of came and went. It wasn't as big of a phenomenon as it seemed like it was going to be for a while, but still enjoyed it. Listened to it again today and enjoyed it again. So that is where I stand.
it's
Yeah, it wasn't in my top 3. I do like the song, but I have to knock the song not musically or the attempts that she made. Maybe I'm a country purist when it comes to these things, but talking about your Mercedes in a country song, I just is like, I don't know. I'm gonna be that guy, but it just knocks it down just on the lyrical content. But I actually probably appreciated. I think me and John had talked about it when it was on. For all the Beyonce fans that might be listening to the Draft Day podcast, I actually showed probably more favor than some people on the Beyonce album. I always appreciate people taking an artistic chance at something and experimenting, even if it doesn't always hit on the head. But that song though, musically, it's good. Lyrically, it's okay.
Sure.
yeah. I mean, I applaud the effort. I think if I'm gonna look for more of a modern ones, I think like right now, like the bar song, I find much more fun than any of Beyonce's country stuff, for instance, and not just because it references
I
St.
think it's a
Louis.
lot more sincere too.
Yeah, I mean,
Correct.
yeah, and maybe it's just the fact that it is Beyonce. It's just so hard to be like how you've established yourself. It's weird to kind of put any country influence in it, but you know, she's 150,000 times more talented than I'll ever be. So, I mean, she's got that rocking, but I mostly heard it in TikToks that my wife showed me, I feel like. So,
Says the guy that was talking about how old he was.
Thank you.
yes, my wife is showing me the TikToks. I am not seeking these out on my own.
Your wife is older than you. I know this for a fact.
Yes, my wife is older than me, but she is still up with the trends that the kiddos do. I'm an adult, and I mostly watch TikToks on YouTube Shorts 2 weeks later, like an
Okay,
adult does. So, so
gotcha.
no similarity through the bottom three. That's interesting.
It sounds
But
like none of us had our number 3 songs on the others' lists either. So
No.
Tyler, you're up for number 2.
Okay. This song, one of my really good friends, I'm usually the guy that's like showing my friends like, "Hey, check out this new song." And this one just completely like blindsided me. I was like, I don't even know who this guy is, don't know where he came from. And at first I was just kind of like, whatever. And the more I heard, I was like, oh, this guy's like incredible singer. I don't know what this is, but I like it.
Okay.
And that is Teddy Swim's Lose Control. That it's just got such a neo soul to it. It just feels refreshing. It feels old school, but it's modern. It's just, and his vocal runs in the song are just incredible. And if you see live versions, he nails it live. I think it's, for me, it's the clear cut number 2 to what is my number 1 song. And any probably other year, if the number 1 song didn't exist, that's I have number 1. It's the clear cut number 1 here. So I think the distance between 1 and 2 is quite large, and the distance between 2 and 3 for me is also pretty significant as well.
Yeah, Lose Control was kind of my de facto number 4. It was like that and Texas Hold'em I gave some serious thought to. But yeah, it's a really good song. It definitely stands out as having a very old kind of sound to it, but in a good way, in a kind of a classically like cool sort of bluesy way. You know that song, Jason? Or
I did. I'm like you, John. It was sort of my number 4 in my rankings.
Yeah.
I do like, kind of the way that we're kind of hitting this era where, I don't know, the generations just continue to kind of bring back the old stuff a little bit. And it's got, kind of like Tyler's talking, that it has some of that older feeling, that kind of soul you don't necessarily get in pop music that gets real popular. Cool thing too, that I think it took like 32 weeks to climb up the charts number 1, which is, it's fun to see those ones that, even if it's just for a week, like pay off, that could do wonders for, that guy's career. So
Yeah, I will say, and this seems like a weird thing to say about a song as opposed to like an album or a movie or something, but the first like half of the song I'm all in, and for some reason by the end of it I'm just like, okay, we can move on. That's kind of like where it fell off for me, but that's also me just not having an attention span apparently.
yeah.
I've liked to tolerated all of the songs that have been listed so far, and I don't like every number 1 song of this year, so I applaud everybody's work. We'll see if Jason can keep up the trend.
I will see. I don't know. So I'm not somebody who typically, I don't listen to a lot of hip hop music in general since like the year 2006. But I won't lie, I got pulled into the feud. So my number 2 is Kendrick's Not Like Us. It's a good diss track.
I do not think Tyler or I will be the ones to start criticizing song choices at this point.
So yeah, I went with that. It's a good track. I enjoy it, and it disses Drake, who I don't know. Nothing against Drake, go Raptors or whatever, but
yeah, we may have to do just a like general recap of that song at some point on this episode, but it may come up again later, so we can save it for then. Do you have any immediate thoughts that you want to throw out there, Tyler, or do you want to just save it for future discussion?
And too much.
All right. So my number 2 is from an artist that I pretty much associate with one song from several years ago that I hated, and so when I heard this song, I was very pleasantly surprised, which is "Too Sweet" by Hozier. Did not expect that the new Hozier song was going to sound basically like a Black Keys song, like have a very like blues rock kind of, a little bit of that neo soul type of thing that Tyler was talking about with his choice, but it just has that kind of like, it's the closest thing to a rock song that has been number 1 this year, and as we'll go through in the 2000s, the number of rock songs that like actually are significant chart hits has dramatically fallen off, and this one felt like a song that, if like the local alternative station still played like alternative rock music that was coming out, they would probably throw this one on the playlist, and I would enjoy it. So yeah, it's music, so I don't necessarily have a great descriptor beyond that, but I'm very glad that it surpassed "Take Me to Church" as his highest charting song, because I find that song incredibly boring and always have. But I like this one.
Yeah,
So
I might
I
have more
had
to say on it later.
I had Too Sweet at
Spoiler.
number 4. I'm actually a
Huh?
pretty, I'd say a fairly big Hosier fan. I think for me, the only reason I don't have, so for me, it's not like one of my favorite Hosier songs, but it's definitely in this group, one of the better songs of the year, being number 4. The thing that really, if I had one critique of the song, and I'll move on to Jason, is that bass line. The first time I heard it, I was almost like, this is like a variation of the bass line and Pumped Up Kicks by Foster the People. And it's just got a little different
I can
pace
hear
and
that.
speed to it. And I just felt like it, it's a really good song. Nothing bad about it, but it's one of those. John, I'm going to tell you right now, if you like that song, there's a lot of good Hosier songs out there that don't get the recognition that they do that you would like. So there's my Hosier plug
Yeah,
for the night.
I may have to explore, because I remember people being into him in like 2014 or 15 or whatever, and then me just not giving it the time of day because the song I heard I didn't like. But I may need to dig back in. All right, Tyler, you're up. Number
Number 1.
one.
All right, are we gonna start the funeral procession all over again?
Okay. Do you see dead people? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I see one dead people, and I hope he's in
Yeah,
Canada. I got "Not Like Us" by Kendrick Lamar. Pretty
I'll just say
cut and dry
this
here.
is my number one too. We can just
Like,
we
let's
can just
just
have this discussion right now.
let's just try not to spend like 30 minutes on this because we actually have an actual draft we have to get to. Um, but yeah, if you followed the feud, it's worth it. I hope they make documentaries about this feud because it's got depth to it, it's got layers to it, and this song is not only the summer anthem. It I'm not a hip hop enthusiast, but from everything that I'm reading from people that I respect who follow hip hop and the history of hip hop, this is gonna this is gonna be 20 years down the line a song that we look back on, and it will be what like reshaped hip hop music going forward. It's
Yeah.
just that iconic.
Yeah, like diss tracks aren't supposed to be number one hits, but this one is just so catchy and so fun. And the fact that somebody feuding with the biggest pop rapper like ever managed to like out pop him on the feud is honestly just incredible. And I remember when I first learned of this song's existence, I was at a bar with a friend of mine by the name of Tyler, as well as another friend of mine by the name of P Funk, who was on our last episode. And we didn't listen to it, but kind of just saw the news going on Twitter. And at that point, we were like, "Oh, like Kendrick's clearly winning this." But yeah, he did good. And the whole concert that he did on Twitch, was it 2 weeks ago at this point? The fact that he did Not Like Us like 4 or 5 times in a row, the fact that he brought on members of like the Crips and the Bloods on stage together to like dance along and sing along, and the idea that you would take somebody that you don't like and be like, I have found the two biggest warring factions in the world. I have created world peace. I have united enemies, and it's all against a common enemy, and that common enemy is you. That is just so funny. Like, and the song is just so like, I listen to it almost every day at this point. Like, it's just such an entertaining and enjoyable song. Like, it's the kind of song that like I would never sing it at karaoke because I'm white and it has the N word in it a lot. But if it weren't for that, I would absolutely be excited to just sing A minor and Bring Down the House. If somebody else wants to do it at karaoke, I will gladly toast to you and sing along to the words that won't get me canceled.
Same.
All right, Jason, you had it merely at number 2. So what is your number 1?
Yes, and it was your number 2. I had Too Sweet at my number 1.
Nice.
So
Nice.
and it's purely just because I think like just the style of music and everything is just much more my speed. I'd heard the song maybe for the first time just a couple of weeks ago, and it's definitely been in kind of my, in my recently played, so it gets played a lot when I'm working or whatever because it's easy enough. I mean, and it's funny because like, if I just read the lyrics without the music, it just kind of seems like the lyrics aren't like earth shattering, but it fits so well just with the style of music. I think like it's one of those where
Yeah.
a lot of times like the lyrics enhance the music, but I think this time it's much more of a case of the music enhancing the lyrics. So I think I am with you in the terms of like versus Take Me to Church. Like I listened to some of his other stuff, but didn't necessarily love it back then. But now, based on Tyler's rec, I feel like I need to go back and start listening to more Hosier. So yeah, I don't know. It's a good song. There's some okay music out there now. Maybe I need to keep up with the youths and the pop music more. I don't know.
I may make you
So
guys a
I didn't.
Hosier playlist just to get you guys like dip your toes in. Like this is where you start with Hosier and you can go from there. Just saying.
All right. I will say I did not expect such a consensus to form, but I feel like our group number 1 would be Not Like Us. Our group number 2 would be Too Sweet. Our group number 3 would be Lose Control. Does that sound right?
Yeah.
All right. Good deal. I would be perfectly content with that as a
Good
3
job,
song.
team.
Good job indeed. All right.
Mhm.
So before we start drafting, I came up with a little trivia question for the two of you. It is a collaborative trivia question, so you're not competing against each other, you're working with each other. You are going to try to conquer a common enemy, much like the Crips and the Bloods and Kendrick toppling Drake and calling him a pedophile and stuff.
Is Drake our enemy?
I'm hoping you don't call me a pedophile as part of this. I can't really figure out why you would, but I guess we'll find out, and I guess I'm the one who's editing it. So one thing that occurs to me about pop music of this year in particular is artists from Missouri are doing quite well on the pop charts in a way that I don't think has been the case since like Nelly was at his prime. Looking at it, this was referenced earlier, but the current number 2 song in the country, not by an artist from Missouri, but heavily interpolates the song "Tipsy" by Jaquan from St. Louis. Chapel Roan is kind of having a moment. She is from the metropolitan Springfield area, so shout out to Jason there. Sorry, I accidentally muted myself there. And then somebody else that has factored into the Drake Kendrick beef, Metro Boomin is from St. Louis as well. So I have a question that is centered around musical artists from the state of Missouri. I have looked up 7 different artists, and I will type out the list of artists in the chat once I read them off. But the idea is that I want you to put these artists in order from the most to the fewest top 40 hits that they've had during their careers. I will note that there is at least one instance in which artists are tied. So if you don't have to like call the tie, but just like if you're in the spot, I don't really know how to explain it, but I think you probably.
If either one is it like in one of
the
the spots.
4 or 5, yeah.
Yeah, if they're tied for second and you have one of them third, that's fine because that would be the default.
Yeah.
So the number 1 artist, and these I just listed in alphabetical order, it's the one that I referenced before, who is from Willard, is it? Missouri?
Yeah.
Willard, Missouri. Chapel Roan, who I'll give you the free hint that she currently has the number 11 song in the country, I believe it is. So the number of top 40s is at least 1. We have St. Louis hip hop artist, not Nelly, not Jaquan, but Chingy.
Chingy.
Another St. Louis hip hop artist, like I mentioned, Metro Boomin. Next artist, we're going back to Springfield proper. We're going back to the 1970s with Ozark Mountain Daredevils.
Good to say. Okay.
Because I can't help but accidentally take a shot at Kansas City, a city I don't actually hate, but it's just really fun to troll. I went with Kansas City's favorite son's Puddle of Mud. And then St. Louis's own female hip hop artist, Sexy Red. And then Sheryl Crow, who is from Kennett, Missouri.
Kennett.
So I've sent you guys the list.
Okay.
And I got it written down as well, but I appreciate the list. All right, so you said we're working on this together. So do you want us to talk it through, or how are we doing this?
Yeah, talk it through.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so let's think here.
So I can name like Chingy. I could name a lot of his songs that were top 40. Same with probably Puddle of Mud and Sheryl Crow. But I don't know Daredevils, to be honest. So I don't
Okay.
even know. John could be tricking us with that one. That could be a
Well,
zero on the top
no,
40.
I bet at least Jackie Blue is probably a top 40. But like that's a little more ish in my wheelhouse. My dad was a fairly big
If
fan
I
of
had
those
to
Daredevils.
guess, I'm gonna say Sheryl Crow had more, because are we counting? Would we count the song with Kid Rock as a Sheryl Crow top 40 picture?
So I went by the same rules as we do on the draft, where if it's a
Primary.
featured, it doesn't count. If it's, I don't remember specifically, and I honestly don't remember what the songs were for her. But so that's actually a good point though, because if you were just going by like production discography, Metro Boomin would be number one by like a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But this only counts songs that he is a producer on, or that he's a lead artist on.
Yep. You got thoughts on a one? I'm gonna say Sheryl Crow, unless you can convince me.
Sheryl Crow has when I think about wide appeal, she seems like she'd be the biggest artist of this group. I agree with you, or I think Sheryl Crow would be one. I mean, you look at it too in terms of like, I'll be honest, I don't know much about Metro Boomin or Sexy Red. Like I've heard their names. Obviously, I know Metro Boomin was a feature, I think, on one of them, or was he the lead on one of the ones from this year, right? With Kendrick.
And I think I could be wrong about this, because top 40 gets so weird, because there's a lot of songs where you're like, oh, I didn't know that was a top 40, because it literally might have peaked at like 40 and then it fell back out, and that's as popular as ever got. But there's a part of me that thinks Chingy was more popular than Sexy Red. So no matter where we put those two at, or where we put that, I want Chingy ahead of Sexy Red.
Okay, I won't fight you on that. I mean, because Chingy, obviously, right there, One Call Away, Holiday Inn. Like that's three.
One Call Away. I don't know if you did that one.
Yeah, the one with the girl from the Cosby Show in the video.
Yeah.
But yeah, Ozark Mountain Daredevils. If I had to guess, I'd say they're two. I think Jackie Blue and probably it's like If I Ever Went to Heaven or If I Ever Was in Heaven, something like that. Those were like their two big hits, but I bet both those. I know Jackie Blue. Like Jackie Blue might have been a number one. It was real popular.
So, do you think them or Chapel Rowan are last?
Well, let's think here. Chapel. You know what? Hot to Go is probably the one that's 11 right now, right? Like, is that her most popular song still? Like that had to be a top 40, I think. But what about Champagne Supernova or Chapel Roan's been getting a lot of play in my house lately. My wife is obsessed, and my son.
Okay, I know the fact that you said Champagne Supernova, I feel like I have to interject that is not the name of
Yeah, I know.
Chapel
I
Roan's
realize I
song.
screwed it up. It's that is a different band's song.
Yes. I know what you were
uh,
thinking of, but
yes, it's but whatever it is.
There's a part of me that wants to put man. There's a part of me that wants to put Metro Boomin's a tough one because I can never distinguish what he's a producer on because you hear so many of his producer credits with, that famous producer credit.
Yeah.
I can't say it because it has a word I'm not allowed to say in it.
What word is
good
that?
call.
But you guys know what it is. So that one's a tough one. Puddle of Mud's going to be high on this list because they had Blurry, they had Psycho was a top 40, they had She Effing Hates Me, that was top 40. I hate that I know this much, Puddle of Mud, but
So
my roots are coming out.
The KC contention is revolting that John picked Puddle of Mud
Their
and not Tech Nine.
Their cover of About a Girl by Nirvana should have been top 40.
I mean, it's another one of the longevity things. I don't know. I feel like we can't take too much longer on this, so we're gonna go forever.
Yeah, let's go. Let's just for fun. Let's go Puddle of Mud 2.
Okay.
Let's go Metro Boomin 3. Chingy 4. I'll go Daredevils 5. And then who do you want 6 and 7? Sexy or Chapel?
I don't know, dude. Do you think Chapel's only got one? Because I really think Ozark's only got two.
You want to put Ozarks last then?
Yeah, I'd put them like I said, I don't know anything about Sexy Red. I think Chapel's probably like 3.
Okay, then let's go. Then we'll just finish it up with. So we'll have Daredevil 7. Then let's do Chapel Rowan 5 and Sexy 6.
Okay, so your most to least then is Sheryl Crow, Puddle of Mud, Metro Boomin, Chingy, Chapel Roan, Sexy Red, and Ozark Mountain Daredevils. Is that correct?
Sure.
Yes.
We'll lock it in.
Okay.
Is that right?
So it is not. Directionally, you're mostly on the right track. One that I think might have thrown you off is that number 1 is not Sheryl Crow. Number 1 is Metro Boomin. He has 11 top 10 hits, or not top 10, top 40 hits.
It's crazy.
Like that was a number 1 song this year that none of us put on our top 3s because I'm not really a Future fan. The Kendrick verse is good, but it doesn't really not enough to carry it for me. Sheryl Crow's number 2 with 9. Chingy, who you had at number 4, is number 3 with 5. Number 1 hits, or not number. I can't remember what the number is.
40 hits. We got it.
Okay. The tie is a 3-way tie of number 4 through number 6 because Chapel Roan, Puddle of Mud, and Ozark Mountain Daredevils have 2 each. Psycho was not a top 40 hit, which kind of surprised me whenever I looked it up. But and then Ozark Mountain Daredevils, Jason was correct that Jackie Blue was a big hit, and then If You Want to Get to Heaven was the other one. And then Chapel Roan was Good Luck Babe, as well as Hot to Go. And then Sexy Red has 1 top 40 hit with Get It Sexy.
Great song.
That is yeah, it's fine. That is the list of a bunch of artists from Missouri, some of which are better than others, but all of which have had at least 1 top 40 song. Without further ado, though, and now that we've talked for like a while, let's move on to our draft, because that is what we're here for indeed. So, like I said, we are each going to draft one song apiece from each year of the aughts, 2000 through 2009. Each of these is a number one song. We have established that on any song that was number one in multiple years, which, because one year segues into another, there's a lot of them. So any of those you can use in either of the applicable years. Even if you say you're going to use it for 1 year, you can change your mind. We are not allowing for duplicates of artists. So, and this only counts if you're the lead artist on a song. So, for instance, Ludacris is a featured artist on the song "Yeah" by Usher. Ludacris has number one songs on his own. If somebody was to pick "Yeah" by Usher, other Usher songs would be eliminated from being used, but other Ludacris songs are okay. You're allowed to use those. And if Lil Jon had any number one songs, you would also be able to use those. It does not include group overlap, so if you pick a Beyonce song, it does not preclude Destiny's Child songs. NSYNC doesn't preclude Justin Timberlake, so on and so forth. We are not going to do this in snake order because, like I said, we had a meritocracy-based draft in which Tyler earned the number one overall pick. I earned the number two overall pick, and Jason earned the number three overall pick. It was honestly a very close battle among the three of us to determine the order, but someone has to win, and that someone is Tyler. And Tyler, you are on the clock.
Perfect. This is going to be fun because I guarantee all three of us have different strategies, different criterias, and I looked over this over and over at what angle I wanted to go, and at the end of the day, I just went with let's have fun, and it really I'm excited to do this. There is a year on here where it's like thin, and then there's other years it's got a pretty wide range pool, and some years are loaded where you feel pretty good about like, okay, there's like 5 songs here that I really like. I'll take whatever I can get. But instead of playing that strategy, I'm just gonna with any number one overall pick, I'm gonna go with the song that I think is a number one overall pick. That is from a group slash duo, and that is an Outcast song. I'm going with Miss Jackson.
Are you for real?
I am for real. That song, whenever my conservative Christian father knows the words to an Outcast song and it's Miss Jackson, and he goes, "I like that song. It's got good core values in there." I'm like, interesting.
I
Interesting. I'm not even
guess.
gonna tell him any I'm not even gonna tell him any more about that, but okay. I guess he doesn't listen to Big Boy verses. He only listens to Andre. Um, Regardless, it's a whole
I
other.
guess it is a
I need to digress.
about raising your child, even if you're kind of a petty jerk about it.
Yeah, so it's just everyone knows the song, and I think that is what makes a song a number one hit. Is it's a song that you will hear. You can hear at the club, you'll hear at your local bar, you'll hear at the dentist office. It is a song that is played everywhere, anywhere, and everyone from being a kid to an adult in their close to 60s, they know the song. And then I just have always thought it was cool that, for those who don't know, the song is about Erica Badu's reference to mother. She's supposed to be the Miss Jackson. And what's better than the real Miss Jackson leaning into the bit and making her license plates Miss Jackson? I don't think it gets any cooler than that. So that is my number one. Outcast. Sorry, Miss Jackson. Even though it's not sorry, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. Good pick. Good pick.
Yeah.
That
Okay.
was not the pick that I was going to have as my pick, but it was my number one from the year it came out, which was 2001. So good pick in that regard. Yeah, it also eliminates a couple other big hits later on down the line.
I won't
I think
lie,
you
it
picked
makes me sad.
Miss Jackson's my favorite of the Outcast number one songs. I like the way you move. Yeah, it's fine, but
Yeah, The Way You Move is my favorite of the Outcast number ones. I won't lie. Like I like Miss Jackson. I'll say this. I think Miss Jackson is a better song than The Way You Move. But like that album, Speaker Box and stuff was just like as a middle schooler, my friend and not just showing me that album like blew my mind. I had to go back eventually then learn what Miss Jackson was and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, you can't deny it. You like you said, you play that anywhere, you're gonna have people singing along with it.
And I had, but because I really did struggle between Miss Jackson and Hey Ya, because I think that with my criteria on that one, with it being a song that everyone knows, you hear it everywhere. Hey Ya is right there, but I had went with personal preference, kind of like how John was kind of getting at with it's his favorite of the number one. It's the one that I can listen to at any time. Hey Ya is fun. Hey Ya is a great song. It's got its place, but sticking true to who Outkast really is, they're more Miss Jackson than they are Hey Ya, and you only get one half of Outkast on Hey Ya versus both sides on Miss Jackson. So that's why I went with Miss Jackson overall.
Yeah, not going to argue with that pick. Solid choice for number one. For the number two overall pick, sounds like you went with just what was your favorite song, kind of regardless of the year. I'm probably gonna do that a
Yep.
lot, but in this case, there was one year that really stood out to me as, ugh, this is not the year for me. So even though the song I'm picking was number one in two different years, I'm almost certainly going to be using it for 2002. It's not my favorite song on this list, but it is my favorite song from that year. I'm gonna go with "Lose Yourself" by Eminem. Jason is not happy about that choice.
And what
So
year did you pick?
I've
Oh, two.
2002. I
Okay.
have the right to change it to '03. I don't imagine I'm going to, but I do have '03. I think is a pretty strong year, and '02 just doesn't do
Oh,
much for
two is
me.
not.
Um,
Yeah.
so with Lose Yourself, so I have kind of a hit or miss attitude towards Eminem. Mostly, I don't like the whole like Slim Shady persona. Like even as a kid, I was like, okay, I get it. You can say gay slurs. That's really cool, whatever. Doesn't do a lot for me, but Lose Yourself was kind of his chance to do like a big anthem, and it's just really good. It's a really good song. It kind of displays like the power that he's capable of that he doesn't necessarily always practice. Um I believe there was only one other Eminem song that was a number one in the 2000s, Crack a Bottle, which was not very high on my list for that year. It wasn't dead last, but it wasn't good. But yeah, I'm eventually gonna pick songs that are probably more me songs, but Lose Yourself for 2002, which yeah, not my kind of year, but not to actually yeah, um I'll stop it there.
Yeah. I mean, I was really hoping that would fall to me, just because I mean that was a song that like I'll always remember for. I wrestled in high school, and that was always my like pre-match pump up song because it's like it's your chance. And I won't lie, like that scene, like I love the movie 8 Mile. Like I'm not even gonna lie to you. I don't think it's a good movie, but for whatever reason, I love it.
It's a
And
decent movie. I don't think
you
it's
know,
bad.
I mean, but this is the song. There's no movie. There's no Mekhi Phifer. But anyway, um, sorry, I just had to throw that line in there. But he, yeah, it was a song because I'm like you. Like when I heard kind of the more sped up Slim Shady stuff, my all that kind of stuff. Like I had friends that were real into it. I was like, yeah, I don't know. This is, when you're an angsty teenager, like this song like resonates with you like crazy. I felt like, it's like, yeah, man, it's my time. I can do it. So,
But it's also angsty in like a constructive way, not angsty in a I hate my mom kind of way. Like
yeah,
it's
yeah,
angsty in a and yeah, for me, it's also the big story of Eminem obviously is the fact that he was this very successful white rapper in a field that's mostly populated by black people, and the thing that worked for him and the way that he was able to get respect was by just like not trying to emulate like black artists necessarily, like stylistically, yeah, but like lyrically, like drawing from your own experiences. And like he's
No.
talking about, living in a trailer park. He's talking about like feeling like his life's going nowhere. Like in a lot of ways, the movie 8 Mile is like a story about like, kind of like the death of like the Rust Belt. If you wanted to like really extrapolate further on it, and the
Well,
song fits that like a glove.
agreed.
All right, Jason.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. I was just
No,
gonna comment
Tyler.
Oh,
real
no.
quick about
Yeah.
"Lose Yourself." Yeah. I've never been an Eminem fan, but it is probably one of his more tolerable songs for me. But I actually had it pretty low on that year, and that's just honestly, it's just because it's his. I don't know. It just never resonated with me like maybe it did with other people, especially at the time whenever I was younger. I never saw 8 Mile, and I know that that had a lot to do with why it was such a huge hit. But at about 2005, I heard Weird Al do a parody of the song called "Couch Potato," and then every time I hear the that song, I just think of the Weird Al parody, and it's just kind of this like tainted song. But I don't. It doesn't take away from the influence and the impact that it had on basically music and culture at the time, and the music and the movie it came with. But it definitely was going to probably not come up for me on my list. So
All
All right
right.
then. You really
hot
took me
take.
down to size. All right.
Yeah,
Hey, I stand with you, John. It's all right. It's all
Thank
good.
you.
I'm gonna have some
Do you
hot takes
stand with
here
me?
as well.
All
Man,
right, Jason, you're up.
I got it, John.
Thank you.
I got what you're going for there.
Basically
All
saying
right.
Jason's gonna throw me in a trunk.
Yeah, pretty much. I'm gonna get Dido in here too. It's gonna be awesome.
Nice.
Yeah, man, this throws a wrench in terms of like, I feel like I need to play the game to maybe knock an artist out here with my number one pick. And if I'm just honest with myself, and this honestly may be the biggest song, and you referenced it in kind of your example, John, but I think I have to go to 2004 and take Yeah. That
Yeah.
song was huge. I mean, and I was 14 when it came out. So like the ripe age of like, let's overplay the heck out of this thing. And I mean, and as you know, me and you have sung this song together at karaoke.
It's
Um,
true.
and not to brag, but I do kill the ludicrous rap in this song.
Yeah.
But thankfully, there's no words in it. I can't say, at least in the radio version. I don't know if there's another one, but I mean, this song was just. I remember waking up before school and just like hoping that MTV2 would play this music video or VH1 would play this music video before I went to school that day. Because it's before the days of where you can just hop on Amazon and watch whatever you want to watch. Like, I watched music videos before school. That's what I did. I remember distinctly missing the bus one day because I was watching Metallica's "The Memory Remains." Uh,
Oh my god.
it's not a good song. And the creepy
I don't
old
even.
lady.
I don't mind the
Fortune Fang?
song, but like, yeah, you weren't like missing it for Master of Puppets. You were missing it for
Hey,
one of the load or reload songs. I can't remember which one, but
yeah.
right.
Anyway, but it's like it's yeah.
Oh god. Oh no.
Anyway, um, but no,
Sorry.
yeah, it was just it. It was every other song on the radio station. It didn't matter what the station played. If they even tangentially played pop music, that song was on it. Like, I don't know how many weeks it was at number one, but it had to be a ton, I feel like. But yeah.
Yeah.
Well, since I destroyed John on his last one, that wasn't even my top 5 for that year. So
That was my number one for that year. My list is going
boy,
fully off the board here.
boys, this is gonna be a mess.
I feel like you're in good shape so far, though, because we keep picking songs you don't want, so you're just gonna
Yeah,
get
I just got open board.
yeah.
No,
So
but it is. I mean, it's a fun song. I mean, I'm not taking anything away from it. I just personally, my rankings show it. That album it came off of, that song came off of. That's such a just heavy. That's a loaded album of just hit songs. That was this. That was the year of Usher. Every middle school girl was like in love with Usher and was singing all those songs that will probably get mentioned here maybe later on.
You cannot pick any of them. Usher is now gone.
But he is gone. Yeah. So with thank you for reminding me about that. I personally had Confessions Part 2 as his best song, even though it's super problematic. Um,
huh.
it is one of those songs
Yeah.
where, you know, some of the best songs have the just lyrics and the message you don't want to endorse, but you're like, the music and the melody, it's just too good. It's just too catchy. So, um, yeah, that's kind of where I stand on Usher.
These
So
are my
by Usher.
confessions.
Yeah, see,
Yeah.
look at John
My
or Jason over there.
my take on Usher is I worked at a wedding reception hall within like a year of Yeah coming out. So I've heard this song once or twice.
Can you refer to him by his proper name at that time? He was Usher.
I
Usher
usually
Raymond.
refer to him as Usher, but
That's fair.
all right,
All right,
Tyler,
Tyler.
you are
let's
back on
hear
the
what you got.
board.
Oh man. So I I already feel like I honestly thought I was going to be like marking off more songs that I had listed here. So now I just feel like I get to just do whatever I want. Um, man, you know what? I'm just gonna trust. I'm just gonna trust my board, and I'm gonna go to it's kind of in sync with it's not in sync, but it's in sync with Jason here with just songs that just crushed it when we were in middle school or junior high. Uh, my number two pick is going to be Into Club by 50 Cent.
Yeah,
That
that's
song
Yeah.
just that song just like felt like it came out of nowhere. And it was just such a massive song, kind of like Jason. I just remember watching that music video and just thinking how cool it would be to do like sit ups upside down and 50 Cent's just looking cool, just looking ripped, and you're just like, man, 50 Cent's so cool. And then you hear a story about how he got like shot 9 times, and it was in the era of like the crunk. It was entering into the crunk era, but he wasn't in that vein. I don't know. He was just such. He just felt like this larger than life character. He almost felt kind of like he wasn't. How do you say it? Like almost like a mythological being.
it
Like
was like
I
a
don't know. He just
superhero.
yeah,
Yeah.
and you're just like he just had this gravitas that was just like undeniable, and he would show that from his reign of like '03 to '05, where he was featured on every song. He was the lead. I mean, he was everywhere. And Into Club just set that off, and that's just a song that you hear that first bass that bass drop, and in a half second,
Yeah.
you know exactly what the song is. Everyone's singing along to it. No one's the edited version will be played, but no one's even singing the edited version. It's just it's just a killer song, and it will stand the test of time. That song will just span generations because it's just so much fun to listen to, and it just sounds so good. And if you have a good stereo or headphones, yeah, it's a great song.
Yeah, 100%. I'm with you. And yeah, I mean, I I don't know if you guys did this, but like with 50 and the other guys, like I remember just randomly walking around middle school going G unit. Like, I mean, come on, like, and he was sort of, I guess, like the de facto like head of G Unit, if you will, or
Oh yeah.
you know. So it was, shout out to like Lloyd Banks or whoever else was a member of G Unit, but um, yeah, I mean that song was just like I said, 2 notes is all you need. Dun dun, it's over. Like you know what's
Yeah,
happening.
it's
Your head's starting to move to it. You're like, okay, we're into this. I know people. This is an audio podcast and they can't see me moving my head. Probably for the best, but yeah, just a banger, as the kids say, right? I don't. Kids probably don't say that anymore. skibbity toilets.
I said it then.
I don't know.
We said it.
Yeah, we probably said it was like, I don't know, like boss or something. I don't know. We brought back the 80s slang.
We probably said it was the shizzle, if we're being perfectly honest.
Probably.
All right. So, yeah, Into Club is awesome. It was actually my number 2 song from that year. But we'll obviously address my number 1 in due time. I would say if I had to make a like bracket of songs that lose the most when you get to the radio edit, Into Club is in the finals alongside Get Low. Those are the 2 songs where it's like the radio edit just really loses something. I recognize that a lot of what's being censored in Into Club is like insanely homophobic, but just the flow of it is much better. But so 2003 was an interesting year for what I was considering because, like I mentioned, I could use "Lose Yourself" for that year, but I'm not going to because I'm gonna pick my number 1 song from that year because even though I think '03 has decent depth, I think there are 2 songs that stand out. One of them is Into Club. I'm gonna go with my number 1 song from that year. I think you can make a reasonable case, and some publications have that this is the best song of the decade. "Crazy in Love" by Beyonce. I know I picked Texas Hold'em for my number 1s of this year, but Crazy in Love is like by far her best song ever, in my opinion. It is just like an instantly timeless song. It is a song that is just like kind of like irresistible in a way. And it is I checked this. I looked at Pitchfork's list of the greatest songs of the 2000s. This was the highest ranking song on the list by quite a bit. That was a number 1 song. So I have the snobs on my side since I couldn't pick a LCD Sound System. I can go with Crazy in Love. But yeah, it's awesome. And whenever we had to pick a song at our wedding for the like the final song of the night, we were like, we want to pick a song that just everybody likes, that just puts everybody in a good mood, and that was "Crazy in Love" because it's like it's timeless. It's still like the fact that she went on to a great solo career is on one hand understandable. On the other hand, when you start off with that, like how do you live up to it? The answer is you don't, but you do good enough. And that's what I have to say about
Certified bop. I think that's where it's going to, obviously the Jay-Z collaboration in it as well. You know, it's just it's small, but it kind of sets the tone for the song. So
okay, and the Jay-Z verse is like not what I love about the song, but it is good. It's not like it's like his verse on Monster or something where it's just like he clearly phoned it in. But it's I enjoy it. I enjoy any song that references Nick Van Exel. There is another number 1 song that could be picked later that also references a point guard from the 2002-2003 Dallas Mavericks, but we'll see whether we get to that song or not.
say,
I know how Jason feels about that song, so it's up to me or Tyler, I think.
it's not so much that song, it's what it prevented from becoming a number 1 song is why I hate that song. But
Sure.
I had "Crazy in Love" at number 3, and that's actually it's not a slight to "Crazy in Love" because my number 2 was actually "Into Club," and I had "Hey Y'all" 1, but those are all like you could convince me of
yeah.
those 3, but those 3 songs were so massive that year. They were so iconic to really all 3 artists. It was 50 Cent's kind of really breakout. It was Beyonce's breakout as a solo artist. And Outkast, it really put them on the map, not in terms of their like hip hop, but put them on the map towards just like people and like to the masses of like, oh, who's this? Who's this rap duo? Um, but "Crazy in Love," that would be in any other year. It's one of those songs where it's like it would be my number 1 in some of these years. But 2003 to me is just such a it's pretty top heavy, but those 3 songs carry a lot. That they are just so massive for that decade that you could convince me those 3 are interchangeable. If I'm being honest.
Sorry for boxing you out of those, Jason.
Yeah, I say like my 03 choices left now kind of I'm like, oh, I guess this will
There's
be
some other
like,
good songs.
yeah, like it's not like there's nothing, but I should have been better at the game. It's all right. This was really on me.
No one's had a song yet that I outright dislike. If that happens, I will call people out on it, including if
Same.
I pick a song I dislike.
That's fair. So I'm gonna go. I think in terms of looking at years here that are maybe thinning out, um, and then just looking at songs that I really enjoy. Kind of torn between 2 years as I'm trying to, because like I'm not gonna lie, like I look at 05 and there's not a ton left in 05, just with artists taking out stuff.
And
and
no one's pitching 05 song.
no
That's
one's
what's
picking
wild.
05, so that's why I'm like, okay, I feel like I need to get in on an 05 song. And when I look at them, I'm not gonna lie, a lot of these, like they're like, okay, this is all right, but if I'm gonna be real with myself here, I'm actually gonna go with. I can't take this high. No, I'm coming back to it. I the strategy. I'm like, screw it. I gotta take songs that I really like early on. I can get. I feel like. Um, so with that being said, I'm gonna instead go to 2001 for my pick, and I'm actually going to take a song that it took me, I think, like 20 years to actually learn the real name of. Yes, I'm saying I only learned it like a few years ago, like consistently. Um, and I'm gonna take Family Affair from 2001.
When you said that, I was like, if it's any song other than Family Affair from this list, I'm going to be very confused. But yeah,
Yeah.
good call.
Look, it's just like we're talking about songs that like even if you don't know any of the lyrics to it, like the beat, dun 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 dun, like it, you know it from the get go. Like I
Dun, dun,
remember,
dun, dun, dun.
yeah. I mean, it's like I and for okay, this is a weird thing about the song, but the vivid memory I'll always have is I don't know if you guys have ever seen the movie Undercover Brother with Eddie Griffin. Uh,
I haven't.
there's a scene
Never
where the
watched it.
song plays, and it's basically it's a hilariously bad movie and great at the same time. But there's a scene where like the song is playing inside of like this essentially white place that's trying to take away the black power. Chris Kattan is like trying to prevent himself from dancing to it, and I will always just think of him dancing to this song. Um, in terms of that, and it's just, I mean, I think like this is the song too that like got me to kind of notice and look up stuff and continue to follow like Mary J. Blige, like is something who like maybe mainstream wise I didn't understand why she was so popular, why she was great, or she was so revered, I guess you say. She is, I think she's a great artist. And this song just, you know, put it in. And I think just from '01 wasn't the strongest year for me. Miss Jackson I think was my clear one. But when I look at the rest of these, I think Family Affair is what I really have to go with. So
It was my
Yeah,
number
it's an
3.
understandable. It was my number 3
Family
as
Affair.
well.
Great song. Really
I
good song.
will. Yeah, if anyone is listening that doesn't think they know the song "Family Affair," because the song, the line "Family Affair," I don't think is used at all in the song. If it is, it's not like prominent. You've heard this song before.
this song. Yeah.
Yeah, like if you've known the other songs, you know this song, and it's a really good song. And I salute the choice. Shout out to the extremely faithful cover of it that Eagles of Death Metal did a couple years ago, in which the like extremely right wing singer still does do the line "Let's get crunk because Mary's back." I have great affection for it. All right, Tyler, you are up.
I'm torn. I'm torn. I'm torn on what I want to do with this next pick.
Do it,
I call
Tyler.
him Natalie Imbruglia because he's torn.
Yeah. 98?
98,
Like that.
I think, yeah.
You know what? Let's just get goofy here. It's on my list, so I'm not going off the board. But Jason was talking about songs that you don't know the title to, and that people get mistaken for. So I'm gonna give you guys my next pick by giving it the wrong title, and it's the first line of the song. Never made it as a wise man. Give me some "How
Oh,
You Remind Me" by
wow.
Nickelback.
He's going with the back.
I'm going with Nickelback, and I need you guys to hear me out on this. I'm going to make my case. Am I reaching for it? Probably. But if we're talking about a moment in time, that it went number one for a reason. So you can't say you hated Nickelback. We got to stop that right now. Songs just don't go number one for no reason. They came
Okay,
out of nowhere.
I will say, I
Ken,
think you're allowed. I think you're allowed to say that you individually don't like Nickelback. You're not allowed to say that the world hated Nickelback because that's clearly was at one point not true.
Very
true,
much.
but everyone you talk to will secretly say, or not secretly, they'll be like, "Oh, I hate Nickelback," but everyone somehow just knows those lyrics. Come on now. So, anyways, my case for How You Remind Me, my personal story. I heard this the first time in the parking lot of my local grocery store. My mom went inside, and I was listening to Z1077, and this song came on. And at that age, I was like, this, like, I was into all that type of music. I was a Creed kid. And then there's this band who I don't even know who this is. I couldn't figure out who it was by for the longest time. I just knew it was Never Made It as a Wise Man. And I was like, oh, I love this song. And at the time, no one at the time said, oh, that song sucks, or oh, Nickelback, they suck. But it might be one of their, it's probably their best written song. Like that song lyrically, if it wasn't by Nickelback, that is a song that everyone would be like, "Oh, this is a really well written song." But because it has a Nickelback connotation, it's just kind of like, "Ugh, eye roll." It's Nickelback. So I'm too defensive right now. I need to get off my soapbox. Nickelback was
All right.
had their moment. Don't be mad at
I have a
Nickelback. It was a great song.
I have a question for Jason. Are we having fun yet? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I'll say this as a person who, and John, I think it does this. I did not. I was a Nickelback hater before it was cool to be a Nickelback hater. This is by far their most tolerable song. Like, and when I was a 12-year-old, 11, 12-year-old kid when this came out, like, I listened to it. I didn't think, oh, it's terrible. Like, I honestly, like, when Tyler was talking about hearing it the first time, like, I was like, I like this guy's voice. Like, I liked Chad Kroger's voice a lot. But by the time, like, I don't know, when Rockstar and stuff like that was coming out, I was done. But, like, I'm not going to bash this song. I don't think you would have had to fight me for this song in terms of, what was left in the O2 drafters, if you will. But now it's like you guys are just like following each other, and I'm like, cool. I'm just like, I can just start to prioritize. Like, I got 2 years that are all mine now. So
I do want to point out what my favorite story since about Nickelback here lately has been when Corey Taylor of Slipknot Legacy came out and said that Nickelback sucks and that they ruined music and that anyone can write a number one hit song. And Chad Kroger responded with, if it's so easy to write a number one, why haven't you done it?
Yeah, and you can't tell me that Corey Taylor with like the Stone Sour songs wasn't trying to get into the Nickelback lane. Like
Oh,
I can understand that Slipknot might not have been, but like when he was writing
he was
like,
talking to Corey Taylor,
Through
not
Glass or
Slipknot.
whatever, yeah.
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 Yeah. So I had How You Remind Me as my number 2 song from 2002, which is why
Thank
I
you.
picked my number 1 song as quickly as I could because I think there's a substantial drop off after Lose Yourself, but I mean, How You Remind Me is fine. I've long been of the belief that Nickelback is overly hated. I think that they have some songs that are just absolutely terrible, but I think they have some other songs that are fine to good. And I think How You Remind Me, I think the main objection people have to it now is that it sounds like similar to others. Like people say it sounds like Someday, for instance, like where they say it sounds like other songs, but like that was the first of the songs. So
Yeah.
if you liked it before, you just got tired of hearing that like pattern. Like if
Yeah.
you're tired of like rock bands doing like Chuck Berry riffs, that's reasonable, but like you're not gonna get mad at Chuck Berry for it. Yes, I am comparing Nickelback to Chuck Berry. What of it?
I love this. I love this. St. Louis's own Chuck
All right.
Berry.
Yeah, I thought about including him on the game, but
All right. R.I.P.
I
legend.
passed. Yeah,
Chad Kroger's still alive.
he's
Talk about
Chad
Chuck
Kroger.
Berry.
I don't believe Chad Kroger has ever been arrested for being a pervert, but
Yeah.
Hey, 1-0 Canada.
I
Yeah.
will say I will say I watched the Nickelback documentary that just came out on Netflix like a week or two ago. They do come across as just like incredibly like grounded and like decent guys, and it is just kind of fun that like it does seem like part of why they got ahead in the music industry is that people like within the industry just personally like them, and so yeah, I'm like I feel like they could be juxtaposed with like we mentioned before, but like Puddle of Mud, like by all accounts, their singer is just like the biggest annoying jerk in the world, but people just like Chad Kroger personally, and uh,
They lean into
I'm
the shtick where everyone's been like Nickelback sucks. They've leaned into that. They've leaned into the memes. They're pretty
yeah.
smart guys when it comes to brand and staying relevant. So
Yeah. Also, I'd forgotten that they did a funk song until I watched that documentary. So shout out to that one funk song they did. Uh, that was not a number one song, and it was not in the 2000s. So I'll move on. So I'm gonna go back to the well of song of years that I just think are not the strongest years. I'm gonna go to the year 2009. So we're jumping way ahead of our picks so far. My top two songs from 2009 are by the same artist. So I will go with Poker Face by Lady Gaga. Uh,
damn,
Again, not my favorite
tough
song
one.
that's left on the board, but I think that I think that these two songs are just superior to the other songs that I have on my list. So that's kind of all there is to it. And like, I wonder if people in future generations will understand just how like big of a phenomenon that Lady Gaga was. Like, she was just like there was like a period for like a year or two where she was just like the biggest like figure in the world, and like obviously like I wasn't alive for like Madonna's peak, but like that's kind of how I picture it being like at that point where she's just like provoking people so much and she's just such a like lightning rod. And like honestly, between Poker Face and Just Dance, it's kind of a coin flip for me. I actually think I like the chorus of Just Dance better, but the guy that does the verse, I think that's kind of a weak verse, so I'll go with Poker Face for the team.
Colby, is it Colby O'Donis or whatever? Or is
I
he
don't
just
know,
the
but we never heard
DJ?
from him again.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a catchier song, but Poker Face, I think, is really like Just Dance introduced her, but I think Poker Face is when she became more of that, like, oh, she's unstoppable. And it was a time too, if I'm remembering kind of right, like I was in that, like, oh, this Katy Perry girl, and then Lady Gaga came in and just like was like, hey, you can be number two, it's fine. Like, because Katy Perry was what, 07, 08 when I Kissed a Girl came out, I think. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
um, but yeah, I mean, she's undeniable. She's, now the full package, obviously acting in a bunch of things and getting nominated for acting and stuff. So shout out to Gaga and all the little monsters out there.
Yeah, that one definitely. Credit to John. That really he made me pay for that one because I was actually going between How You Remind Me or Just Dance, and did not think either of you would go with a Gaga song right after me. So that one hurt. And I had Just Dance one and Poker Face two. Obviously, I could only take one of those because, well, Lady Gaga. But Just Dance was my number one from that year. But it's kind of interchangeable, like John said. Whatever your preference is. I like Just Dance just because I like it musically better. I get the verse thing, but um, preference Just Dance. But that one
Yeah.
sucked. That
It'd
one
be, it'd
hurt
be
me. That hurt.
It would be kind of weird if somebody really liked one of the songs and really hated the other one. Like that would just be kind of confusing.
Yeah.
Shout out to the song "Make Her Say" by Kid Cudi, which relentlessly
Yes.
samples Poker Face like 2 months after Poker Face came out, and it's
Good
also
song
a
though.
wildly inappropriate
Yeah.
song as well. But didn't hit number one, so we don't have to reckon with that.
Nope.
Right, Jason?
All right. You know what? Let's get crazy.
Yes.
We're going with Prince.
Dun, 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 dun. We're going to 06.
Okay.
And I'm gonna do it, man. I have to take this song as much as I like think there may be other songs. If I'm talking about like songs that like I just have listened to the most, or like I'm going with James Blunt here. We're going with You're Beautiful.
Oh,
Wow. Whew.
I could care less about the music purism here. The phenomenon that this song became, you can't deny that a dude whose entire shtick literally was like about being high. And he gets in the music video of him just sitting and slowly taking off his shoes and his shirt and then jumping off of a snowy cliff and spawning the Weird Al "You're Pitiful." Like, is this a strategic pick? No. I don't think this was anywhere near the top 5 on probably either of your lists for this year. And I don't care because it's freaking it's just so good. Like, there are probably 2 other songs I honestly would put above it, but I don't even care. I'm going with James Blunt because why not? It's true. You're beautiful. Both of you gentlemen are beautiful.
So I think You're Beautiful is a good song. I particularly like the unedited version when he doesn't say flying high. I like that part
yeah.
unedited. I think James Blunt is actually an underrated songwriter. I don't know if you guys ever looked at his discography. He's a really good songwriter, but I think that song has kind of tainted him. It was not in my top 5, but I also think 06 is just an absolutely loaded year. But I'm with you, Jason. That song was everywhere, and every soccer mom loved it.
I will say my feelings about "You're Beautiful" by James Blunt are not dissimilar to my feelings on "How You Remind Me" by Nickelback, which is it's not like my favorite song in the world, but I don't hate it nearly as much. Like I think people just got sick of it. It was really a song that was played constantly, but like if I heard it like on the radio today, I probably like I'm not saying I'd crank it up, but I don't think I would be like furious about it
Anyway,
either. All right, Tyler, you are up. You've picked 3
All right.
consecutive years in your list. Are you going to go with 2000 or 2004? Let's see.
I'm actually going to jump to. I'm going to stay in 2006 because I'm now panicking that I'm not going to get the songs I want. I'm being a spoiled brat right now because I got Miss Jackson into club, and then I reached for How You Remind Me, which I lost out on Just Dance. So, staying in 2006, we're going to go with my number 1 song. And just like Lady Gaga and Beyonce having their breakout song, I'm going to go with one of my favorite samples of a pop song ever, and that is SOS by Rihanna, using the Tainted Love
Yeah.
sample. That song, I listened to that the other day, and that song just still, almost 20 years later, God we're old, just still feels fresh, new. It's just such a good song. It might be my favorite Rihanna song. I'm actually a big Rihanna fan, but that song is just I don't know. If you haven't listened to it recently, go listen to it. It's just such a fun song.
because this was was this her second song? Was Pond to Replay first, and then SOS came out? Was that how?
Is that right?
Yeah.
Is that right? Oh,
Yeah,
I thought
SOS was
SOS was a
definitely
breakout. Okay.
SOS was definitely bigger. Pwn to Replay was like a minor hit, but
Yeah,
SOS
that was
was
like her.
like
It
definitely
was her
bigger.
intro, but SOS,
Okay.
yeah, that's when she got huge. I mean, I will say that pick makes me sad because I almost went to 08 and took Disturbia, so I'm a little
Great
sad that
song.
that's gone. I mean that has a lot of intrinsic value for being in college and a certain group of people I was with who that kind of became just a thing with us. But so that it hurts to me from that aspect. Like I'm experiencing what John did to you with Just Dance right now, Tyler. So
Yeah.
Yeah, SOS is really good. It was my number 2 from 2006. So it was definitely in play for me. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have. Maybe this is why I'm okay with not picking it, because this was going to be the extent of my my takes on it. But all right, guess I'm on the board. This is the
yes.
first
Oh,
one.
sorry.
This is the first one where I'm really kind of contemplating. So I am going to go with. I'm going to jump into the year 2004. I actually just mentioned to Tyler earlier today, and Jason knows this about me too, that I have a real soft spot for basically the collective works of Pharrell. This is not a Pharrell song, but he features prominently on it. "Drop It Like It's Hot" by Snoop Dogg, which is, I guess, speaking of song, like, this is a song that was not that heavily. I mean, it was edited a little bit for radio, obviously, but like, it mostly kept the verse where he talks about like kidnapping somebody and torturing them and stuff. But which is pretty weird. But yeah, I think just like sonically is just a really kind of just. I just like the sound of it. It's this very minimal production. It's very Pharrell in that way. And this, like, the song came at a time when like Snoop Dogg, like, yeah, I mentioned the joke about like Shizzle before, but like that's kind of what Snoop Dogg was to a lot of people. Is like he was this like kind of like slightly corny guy from like the '90s who was on, like, he wasn't quite Ozzy Osbourne level of like MTV tainted, but he was definitely not viewed as like cool. And then this song is just like it rips. It's just like, and it's like, I picked a different hip hop song. I picked "Lose Yourself" by Eminem, which is like a very like aggressive song. This is a song that is just like very laid back. It's very, contemplative about, like I said, kidnapping. But yeah, that is my choice. And my top song from that year was already taken by Jason, so I will jump in to "Drop It Like It's Hot" because um my number 3 song from that year was "The Way You Move," and I was also boxing on that. So that is that.
My top 3 songs from that year are off the board, and I've yet to pick from that year. So Rutrow, but
Mhm.
"Drop It Like It's Hot" is similar to, I know Jason kind of said it best about "Too Sweet." It's where the music sometimes enhances the lyrics because there's not much lyrically going on, in my opinion, with "Drop It Like It's Hot," but that beat just goes, and that beat, I don't care what the lyrics said. I don't care if there were lyrics. That song would be a number one hit just off of production. It's just so iconic to that era. It's its own thing. It sounds like nothing ever sounded like it, and nothing ever will sound like it as well. It's just iconic. So it was my number 2 overall in that year, but it easily could be number 1. It's that good of a song.
I think that like kind of American pop culture was kind of like still trying to figure out what exactly to do with hip hop even at this point. And I think that the Reputation was like very much based on like sampling, and people still had that idea in their heads. But like looking at some of the songs that have been picked here, you have like, "In the Club," you have "Drop It Like It's Hot." Like, these are songs that just have like really good like instrumental tracks to them, where like the rapping is good, but it's kind of not like the reason the song is good. It's just like, the equivalent of picking like a great rock song from the '70s because you think the riff is cool. Like, that kind of like bass instinct still plays.
all right.
Don't believe Jason has commented on "Drop It Like It's Hot" at all, but you are up regardless.
Yeah. I mean, I mean, if you want my thoughts on it, like Pharrell's fingerprints, like you said, John, are all over it from a production standpoint. And I think that's, yeah, getting Snoop back in and be like, oh wow, this is, his rapping, or, he's not just the shizzle guy. He's not, I mean, now, I mean, he's still hanging out with Martha Stewart in commercials and stuff. I mean, hey, get that money.
Yeah.
But
I'm not saying he didn't go back to it. I'm just saying in that moment.
no, it was, yeah, he reminded you like how he got to this place, I guess, to begin with, with his actual ability. Sorry, I've been like furiously like contemplating what I want to do here because I have no idea. But I think if I stick with kind of my ish strategy, I'm gonna go to the year 2009, like John has already gone to, and there's a lot of good choices here. But if I'm gonna go with a song that, I just want to be happy with music is my ultimate goal. And the song that maybe almost more than any other song that makes me happy, I'm gonna take Fireflies by Owl City from '09. There's a lot of good kind of like poppier songs or like more dance club type songs that, Tyler will be able to pick from here. But this is my introduction to Owl City as an artist. An artist who I actually very much like. Ironically, my favorite song that Owl City ever did is actually a cover of a Christian song called "In Christ Alone." I think his version of that it's beautiful. I'd recommend listening to it just to hear his instrumentation and stuff. But it's a song that like you hear it when that chorus kicks in, it just kind of makes you happy. It always makes you happy. I mean, and a lot of the other ones are just loud, brash. Get something different on the list, I guess with You're Beautiful and Fireflies now, I'm taking a little more serene aspect to my list here. I don't know. But
Well, I had it, I had it number 4, so I actually like the song, Jason. I don't like just brash songs out here.
hey, no,
Yeah, I had it at number 5. It was it's fine.
'09's a good year. It more or less came down to I want to like make sure I get this song at this point. And the other years that even have been picked from, I'm just kind of like, I'm good with whatever, from this point. So
Yeah, I don't really have strong feelings about the song. I think it's a good song. It's yeah, I felt like '09 was a very, in my opinion, for me, it's a weak year. That's why I had Lady Gaga. That's why I was so hurt over losing Lady Gaga so early. But it's nice to know that you guys have already picked from that year, and now I can just kind of sit back and just kind of let it ride for a little bit.
Yeah, I have one of those years. I'm pretty excited about that.
I have 2 of those years. And they're bad years. All right, Tyler, take it away.
Oh boy. I'm looking over my notes here and I'm trying to figure out what you guys are gonna do, what you guys might not do, but I'm also scared that John's gonna pull a Lady Gaga on me again because I did not know that was coming.
Yeah, shook, man.
Yeah, that I'm still upset about that, to be honest.
This is so morose. This is gonna be the
Yeah,
most. This is gonna be like the saddest song that came out of the 2000s, surpassing Johnny Cash's version of "Hurt." Deep despair
all
all
right,
around.
all right. I think I know what I'm gonna go with here. Um, I'm just gonna. It's my number one from this year. Um, I I have a feeling you guys won't pick this song. I could be wrong, but I'm gonna take it just because I think it fits with kind of what I've already picked up to this point, minus the Nickelback. I just kind of lost my mind there for a second. Uh, I'm I love a good sample in hip hop, and at one time, this guy was probably my favorite in the genre. I'm gonna go to 2005 and take "Gold Digger" by Kanye West. Um, that song, it's just fun to sing. I mean, everyone knows the lyrics. It's fun to sing along with. It's got a lot of notable like "We want prenup, we want prenup." Yeah, I mean, there's just these like throughout the whole song, and then the last line of the song. If you play that at a wedding, that is predominantly white. They sing that last line of Kanye's verse louder than any other verse on the song.
Yeah.
Take it or leave it. Not
It's a
saying that's
little
a good thing.
uncomfortable, honestly. Yeah.
It is, but the song. It's taken Jamie Foxx as a feature at the same time that he had done Ray. It was just such a like nice. I'm trying not to use the word genius move by Kanye but at the time it was such a big moment. It was like we got Ray Charles on a song, but it wasn't Ray Charles. I don't know. It's iconic. It's still fun to listen to. We don't have to get into who Kanye is now or hasn't been for the last 10, 15 years, but in 2005, Kanye he pretty much took the torch from what I would say was like Eminem or 50 Cent. He kind of then paved the way for a new era of hip hop that was kind of we didn't really know who Kanye was. He was just this producer that became a rapper. And this song, while he had like Jesus Walks and things like that before, Gold Digger was really, I felt like his like here I am moment as an artist. And I think 20 years later, it's still a great song, fun song.
Yeah, I do want to ask, like, does it technically count as a sample if he has Jamie Foxx like singing the Ray Charles part, or is it?
Is it interpolation or like I don't know what? Yeah, I don't know what you'd call that.
I mean,
Maybe that's not
regardless, yeah,
interpolation.
yeah, I definitely did not know the song "I've Got a Woman" by Ray Charles until after I'd heard "Gold Digger," and so I was like, "Huh, that's where they got that from." Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha. Yeah, so Gold Digger was not super high on my list. I think it's fine, but it just isn't one of my favorites. But Stronger was my number one song for '07, so that's off the board now.
I think, yeah, in terms of the actual song, I liked a lot of that. You know, you were talking about the stuff that kind of came earlier with Kanye, where it was. I mean, obviously, like when Through the Wire came out, I remember just being kind of like astonished at kind of just the story behind that song and stuff like that, and seeing it. And I like some of the stuff. By the time Gold Digger came out, it didn't hit me right. Like it was fairly low in my '05. And then honestly, that song is dead to me after multiple times seeing my ex mother-in-law like singing and dancing around her house to that song. And then it's
Ugh.
yeah, John. You know, I'm not going to speak ill of my ex mother-in-law, but
I'm not even speaking about her specifically. It's more just the juxtaposition of her and that song that
yeah,
seems.
it was. She was a single woman who was into the hip hop, so it was. But really, other than that, it's yeah. I mean, it's fine. I like I like honestly like I like the Kanye part more than anything in that song. Like I like just the rap verses and stuff, but wasn't super high up. But like John, I didn't have Stronger at one, but it was decently high up on my list for '07. So I didn't need this right now. If you catch my drift.
Going with a stronger reference?
Hey,
All right. All right. So I am going to go with my pick with a song that is my number one from the year. It is a year we have not picked, and it's an artist that has multiple number ones. So I feel like kind of squaring everything I want here. I'm going to go with from 2008. I'm going to go with Womanizer by Britney Spears.
Well,
oh darn, I can't take three now.
Yeah, I admittedly was not really circling around three, which you can't take anyway because '09's taken. But yeah, I think Womanizer is up there with Britney Spears' best songs. This was like shockingly her first number one song of the decade. I guess like Baby One More Time would have been '99. So there's not that she wasn't doing like Toxic and Give Me More and stuff like that in the decade, or I'm a Slave for You. But I think Womanizer just has a really like it's almost like indescribable. The whole Britney Spears thing is like kind of hard to describe in general because like she's not like a technically amazing singer, and like she has like some charisma, but I don't view her in the same way that people would view, like Lady Gaga or like Madonna, like people that are very like sort of singular in terms of like the way people look at them. But this is just a song that I think just is has a very good hit, or not very good hit, a very good hook to it. And shout out to the. I think this is actually another one of those songs where hearing it covered by somebody else made me appreciate the original more, which was the Franz Ferdinand version of Womanizer, which is also like a pretty like for some reason like a rock band doing like a pretty straightforward cover of a pop song just like really unlocks it for me sometimes. And I liked Womanizer the first time I heard it before I heard the cover, but then once I heard the cover, I was like, oh, this song's like better than I gave it credit for. So that is my rationale.
Yeah, I mean it's fine, I guess. Like I won't go too into depth. It was kind of fun, to get Britney maybe back because this was sort of like coming back from a little bit of a hiatus, like post Toxic and stuff, right? Like
Yeah, this would
this
have been
spring.
like well, because like the album Blackout is the one that coincided with like her shaving her head and stuff, and like the
Yeah.
famous Mike Patrick, "What is Britney doing?" at the middle of a Alabama college football game moment. That reference was for you, Tyler. If Tyler doesn't appreciate that, no one will. But yeah, I always like I actually really like the song "Give Me More," and I kind of was never sure why like that didn't get her back in the public eye, but like Womanizer really did, and like that was kind of I think aside from Toxic was kind of the point where I was like Britney Spears like actually can be like an adult artist. Like she's not just purely making music for teenagers. She's also making music for like people in their early 20s. And I was I guess 19 when the song came out, but it did the job for me.
Cool stuff. I
Right, Jason,
guess
you are up.
can I take it from here? All right. Well, kind of looking around at even though Tyler took Gold Digger from '05 is getting tinier and tinier here in terms of available songs. I'd really, if I'm going to be honest with myself, I'm going to take one from '05 and I feel like it had a little bit of a comeback here recently. I'm gonna take "Let Me Love You" by Mario from '05.
Great song. That was my number two.
I actually did have it penciled in as at least the highest available remaining one. I am kind of filtering as I go along, so I don't necessarily see the overall rankings anymore. Um, but it's a song that's sort of stood the test of time. Like I've heard it coming up on radio stations and stuff. Like good for Mario. Like not quite as good as you know, Joe in terms of like single name artists from with number one hits from the 2000s, but um, just a good song. I don't really have like a huge deep passion for it, but I like this song a lot more than any of the other options from 2005 that were left. So that's why I went with it.
So this song's a real blind spot for me. Like, so I've heard the song, and I've heard the song before we did this exercise, but like, it was relatively recently. Like, I guess, completely missed the song when it was out. I'm not sure if that was like in 2005. I was just getting too much into being like classic rock snob as a 16-year-old or whatever, but it just escaped me. And I think it's fine. It just is not a song that I have a strong relationship with. But it sounds like Tyler is more versed in it, and we'll co-sign it for you.
Yeah, no, it's actually one of those songs that I can sing word for word, and I'll falsetto the crap out of that song at a karaoke anytime someone wants to join me because it is fun as hell to sing and hit those runs or what you think you're hitting. I believe it got more traction again lately because I think it was sampled in I think The Weeknd kind of sampled it.
Okay.
Is that right? here recently. I think it was the weekend with what's his
Is that
face?
the Creepin'
21
song?
Savage. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
With
It's
Metro
like
Boomin.
interpolated there
Yeah.
where it's taking lines from it, but yeah, no, that was
Yeah.
my number two. It was actually a close. I was flip flopping between Kanye and that song. I gave it to Kanye on Gold Digger, but yeah, Let Me Love You, definitely one of my favorites of that year. It's really one of my favorites of the 2000s, especially probably my favorite true R&B song of the 2000s, I'd say.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It's up there. It's probably my second favorite of the Mario songs, but I think I Don't Want to Know is probably better.
Do
But
do 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 do. Is that your favorite?
it's a me.
And
Got
I
it.
spoke out. I got my songs mixed up. You're right. That's the song I Don't Want to Know. That's the one
Yeah.
that's sampled on
Which,
Creepin'.
which
Thank
is
you.
Okay.
yeah, which is funny because I think it's like it samples an Enya song. Uh, but like the da na na is from an Enya song. I'm off topic, but I'm a big Enya guy. So if that tells you anything about certain music tastes, I have Enya and Celine Dion days. Like they just happen. It's fine.
I knew you were a Celine Dion guy. I didn't know you were an Enya guy.
Yeah.
This is new
It,
information to me.
it particularly if I have like a project at work that I need to work on, it's very good focus music for me. I'll say that. Like I don't like seek it out to listen to it necessarily, but it's good working music for me.
All right, Tyler, you're up.
All right. Well, with kind of how my strategy's playing out, kind of notes I've been taking on what years I need to knock off, which ones I can hang back on. 07, 08 are hard years for me. And it's a shame because I was like my junior, senior year of high school. But they're just so tough for me. I'm gonna just go ahead and go to of the 2 years, the song I like the most. I'm gonna go to 07. Um, I don't think it's gonna be on your guys' board at all, but I'm a big fan of the song. Can't really explain why, other than I just love the song, and I am gonna take "Say It Right" by Nelly Furtado.
I like that song.
I, I,
It,
I, I,
it's
I,
not promiscuous, so good job.
yeah, no, no,
Um,
no, no. Yeah,
I
well,
will rant about promiscuous, but
with my track record, I've been endorsing a lot of problematic songs tonight, so it wouldn't have been, off base for me, I guess. But "Say It Right" it's not even "Say It Right's" way better than "Promiscuous." It's Nelly Furtado's best song she ever had as a single, more than "I'm Like a Bird" or whatever that song was called. Um,
would like a
but
word
"Say
with
It
you.
Right," that I the beat to that song, I remember having a nice stereo system in my car back in the day, and that song, unless you heard it in my car or in any car, it actually it punches hard. That beat does, and then that chorus is just so just like how she sings it. It just I don't know. It's a personal favorite. It just I feel like I'm floating when I hear that song. It's just yeah. I don't really know. I have
Uh,
any much more to say. That just love it.
that was fairly high up on my list. I actually had that at number 2 for '07. So I like it a lot. And I mean that album from Nelly Furtado is just a good album. Like honestly,
Yeah. I'm personally more of a Man-Eater guy, but
yeah,
Say It Right's
Maneater
good.
is my favorite. Yeah, Maneater is my favorite song off the album. I was actually listening to Maneater earlier today. But and yes, so Tyler can understand my hate for Promiscuous more than anything revolves around the fact that because Promiscuous stayed at number 1 as a not great song, Crazy by Gnarls Barkley was not allowed to get to number 1, which like that would have been my first pick
Yeah.
if
Yes,
it could have been. So it's
agreed. I'd agree
and
with that.
and of course the line of Sean alluded to there, game MVP like Steve Nash. Um,
Oh,
It's like, okay, we get it, Nelly Furtado. You're Canadian.
you're Canadian,
That's
yeah.
great. Yeah. Like, understood. All right. So I'm up. So I am going to go with I'm actually gonna go with a song. I'm gonna go with a song that you guys have both picked songs from this year. So in theory, this song can't be picked, but this artist can. I'm gonna go to 2001. I'm gonna go with what is still my favorite song by this artist, "Fallen" by Alicia Keys. I think it's just a great display of her talents. I think that um, sometimes she would get a little bit like overwrought musically. It would get a little bit like showy, but this was just her at her like, you know, kind of, the heart wrenching sort of vocal. She was really young at the time. Like, obviously at that point, I like whether you like if you were, 20 or 40 didn't really make a difference to me. Everybody was just old. But like it really is an impressively like mature song for somebody, especially I don't know if that's her first single, but it's definitely the first song I ever heard by her. And like it was really like there are some artists where I hear their first song and I completely misread it. I like to mention that the first time I heard I Kissed a Girl by Katy Perry, I was like, let's get this one hit wonder off the radio. I'm never going to hear this artist again. Okay, great. You're a woman. You kissed a girl. And then she became a huge star. So it shows what I know. But I sensed big things were happening for Alicia Keys, and they did. So Fallen is my choice for 2001. So we now have made all of our choices for 2001, and none of us have chosen from 2000. So go figure.
I mean, yeah. I think we could all just agree here. Spoiler alert, like 2000's a really deep year. So
Yeah,
like
2000. Yeah, exactly. 2000's
Right.
yeah, like the reason that we're not picking 2000 is the same reason that I did pick 2002. It was like, look, if I don't get my number one song and I have to settle for one of several other songs, like I have five. So I ended up hiding a bunch of my rows. I have five songs listed for 2000 currently on my sheet, and honestly, like the number five song on here, I would happily take. It is a
yeah,
deep group.
definitely.
Yeah, no, I back to Fallen though. Obviously it was I think I knew the song like word for word before I knew who actually sang the song. Like it was one of those songs like that was that her debut, like really her that was her breakout song, right?
Yeah.
Definitely her breakout. Yeah.
Yeah, because it was at least the first song I ever heard by her, and I didn't know who sang it. It was just kind of the song I heard, but I didn't really seek it out because it really wasn't in my like I don't know friend groups weren't like really listening to it. It wasn't really a song guys were just playing, but it was just undeniable. Like that opening line, you were just like, "Whoa, what is this? Like this is really good." And that piano comes in nice and softly, and it's another one of those just iconic songs. I honestly would have been surprised if someone took that earlier in the draft, just because it's such a heavy hitter for that era of music.
Yeah, I mean something to like we were talking like she came out and like John, you were saying the vocal talent too, but like you also the piano playing. I mean, just
Yeah.
very kind of you know subtle. A lot of these songs, especially are much more like the synth, the very poppy. This was very instrument driven with piano, like prominently just piano and drums. I'd say probably more than anything, maybe a bass in there or something, but nothing like crazy in terms of instruments. It's her voice. It's I don't know, akin to like when John Legend, came out with like All of Me or something like that, where he just had an artist who could just sing. Not just comparing them because they're both, have been coaches on The Voice either. But
I do want to go on record since you mentioned All of Me. 2014 is the worst year of pop music in the history of the world. That's my stance. Don't need to. That's one of the better songs from that year, but that
yeah,
year,
I mean,
not for me.
I I have not
I
done the research, so
I'm going. I actually want to look this up now. So if John wants to or Jason wants to do his pick, go ahead. I'm just curious now about 2014 number ones.
alrighty.
It's rough. It's really rough.
Alrighty. So let's go. I think I'm going to be in a similar situation to Tyler of looking at '07 and '08 and just going to take the song that I like the most from that year or those 2 years. There's a lot of these songs, like honestly, I look at them like, oh, that song is okay.
Oof.
But if I'm gonna be all right, this is one that I'm gonna get grief for. I can already see it. But if I'm honest with myself, like when Tyler was talking about his 2007 song, I thought this is what he was going to go with because I feel similarly about it. But I don't care. It's a bop. I'm taking Girlfriend by Avril Lavigne, and I will hear nothing about it. John, your face, I will punch it. I don't care. It's a fun song.
Is this why you don't like Nickelback? Because you're jealous that Chad Kroeger got to marry Avril Lavigne? Is that what this is about?
Uh,
Bingo.
I know. I happily married here myself, but to be fair, Girlfriend is not my favorite Avril song from this era. What the hell is a better song? But
Songs like So Whatever.
yeah,
She can do so much better.
Wow, way to go back to the song and that reference, John. But no, like yes, I fully know that I'll get grief, but you know what? If I'm honest with myself, it's a fun song. I like it. I really don't care how other people feel about it. I'm tired. It's past my bedtime as we're recording this. Like, this is what you're getting. Deal with it.
Girlfriend by Avril Lavigne was the first song played at my prom. So it'll always have that going for it.
And that's what everybody's talking about.
The second song, for some reason, was Everything by Buck Cherry. Still haven't got an explanation on why that was played, but that was the second song played. Tyler looks
What a
extremely
prom.
confused.
What a prom.
Yeah.
Prom. Yeah, those were.
They could have played Crazy Bitch, but I guess everything will do.
So they definitely played Crazy Bitch in my prom. But
Oh, public schools.
oh, hey man,
Yeah.
prom on stage at the Fox Theater in downtown, baby. Good times.
All right, Tyler, you're up. Unless you're too distracted by the number one songs of 2014.
Well, that's a rough year. We might just have to put an asterisk next to that if we ever do a 2010s draft. That might be a year where it's like
Yeah.
we're going to be taking first picks out of that one right off the back. It's like get what you can because there's not much on that carcass. I all right. So I may have messed up my board here because I can't remember the rules. So if it's a lead artist and they've been picked, but they're a featured artist, I can't take it, or I can take it.
As long as they're a featured artist on the other song, you're allowed to take it.
Okay. So then I'm going to. Okay. I just wanted to clarify that because I'm looking at a couple things here. I guess I just kind of feel like I have to be forced to either take because you guys have closed out 04 and 09, so I can let those sit there for a little bit. 2000, we haven't taken anything from that one yet, but it's such a heavy hitter. I think we're all just kind of letting that like it's just kind of no one wants to be the first one to pick from it because they're wanting to see what everyone else does. So I'm going to go to 08. What? Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
What are you saying? Okay. 08. Not a great year or year that I've been trying to like push off because my number one was Rihanna's Disturbia, but obviously I took SOS, so I kind of hurt myself on that one, but I wanted SOS more. So I'm going to go with my number two song. This was a song that, again, a lot of these songs have memories for the fact that I had a really nice car stereo and they sounded really good in my car. And I have good core memories with some friends while I drove through my podunk small town in Illinois, cranking Whatever You Like by T.I.
For sure, you're going to say
It's
Bleeding Love there.
Oh, wouldn't that be great? Yeah. That's
Oh
anyways.
man.
Whatever you like. I don't know. It's just I don't know. Girls like it, guys liked it. Ti was kind of running with it at that time. Um, it's just a fun song. I don't know.
That was my freshman
I
year
will.
of college, and that song was everywhere because it like came out in the summer as we were just like going into school. So every party, everywhere was playing it.
I'll say Whatever You Like was pretty high on my list for 08. It was not my number one Ti song from 08.
Oh, did you have Live Your Life above it?
I Live Your Life ahead of it, yeah.
I
I
assume that's what he was considering when he was asking
But
about.
hey, I want to make one thing clear. But it's not even the best Ti song from that year. But the best Ti song didn't go number one, and that's "What You Know." That's the best Ti song.
could see you being a dead and gone guy, but apparently not.
Nah, no.
The old me
But
is, but so and my entire point of this episode now is just drop as many puns into stuff as I can.
All right, I have no further comment on whatever you like, but if anyone else does, feel free to correct it.
yeah, I'm good. No, I have no other
Yeah.
comments.
All right, I am
So
going
we are
to look. Someone has to pick a song from 2000 to get things rolling, and that someone's going to be me. Um,
Oh,
there's a lot of really good songs from
I'm
2000. I would
very
be content
curious to see what you pick here.
with any of these, but like I said before we even started the draft, there just aren't a lot of there's not a lot of rock songs that are number ones. And so if I can pick a song that has like a cool opening riff and a banger of a guitar solo, folks, it's a hot one. I'm going with Smooth by Santana. To quote that one t-shirt that circulates every once in a while, I'd rather be listening to the 2000 song Smooth by Santana featuring Rob Thomas of Matchbox 20 off the multi-platinum album Supernatural. I want that shirt so badly, but I have not broken down to buy it. But yeah, Smooth is it's just a really good
it's
song, and like it's become so memeified that I think people just kind of forget that
So
and
good.
I think like Rob Thomas's vocals, it kind of like it can get a little old for me. I'm admittedly not like there's a couple Matchbox 20 songs I like, but it's admittedly not really my thing. But like I feel like that song is just like him, like he's perfect for it. And Santana's guitar playing is wonderful, and like the fact that a guy that played at Woodstock had the first number one song of the 2000s and then had another number one song later that year. I mean, granted, not as good of a number one song, but like Carlos Santana played at Woodstock and had two number one songs in the 21st century. That is crazy.
Yeah. Pretty good
I
song.
think I told John about this a while back. That song is a weird like time in my life where it's like I look back on it and I associate it. I swear I heard that song like it was a summer song. And I think it's because of it being like it's a hot one and all the and the sound and the
Yeah.
vibe of it. But it was so shocking to find out, oh, that song like came out like it was number one during Christmas. Like it just so like I don't associate that song with like the winter time. It's strictly set to you hear this song in the summer. And I swear my childhood I heard it during the summer, which I probably did, probably in the probably like the summer of 2000. But that song, the music video always stood out to me. I believe his girlfriend at the time was the girl in the music video. Um, don't know her name. She was some model at the time. My only knock on that song, while I love it, is other than the line, the chorus is absolutely phenomenal. That is a great chorus. It is so catchy. But other than the "Man, It's a Hot One," if you told me to write down another lyric from a verse, I would struggle.
Like 7 inches from the midday sun. Yeah.
There you go. John's got it. But it was my number three from that year. But that's not a knock. That's just how it's a low year for me.
Yeah, I'm gonna be like borderline offended if your guys' 2000 songs aren't other songs on my list. Like, even though it'll make me feel like I've done better in the draft, it's like these songs deserve credit because, man, it's a strong year.
Yeah.
And
I
it's
mean,
weird because I feel like my perception of like what's a strong year, I don't think is necessarily in like oh well, of course you're gonna pick the song that's associated with this. Like 2000 is like certainly the year I was least plugged into pop music of these, just because I was young. But like I remember that song being everywhere. Like had the song come out like a year earlier, I might not remember it being everywhere, but it was big.
certainly was. All right. Let's keep the train rolling. Not going to do any big setup. I'm locked in and then have 2000, with my picks left. So not much to fight over or anything. I'm going to go to O2, and frankly, it's not a great year. So with what's left, I will go with St. Louis's own, not Furtado, just Nelly. I'll take Hot in here.
You picked the
Is it?
correct Nelly song from that year, right?
Yeah, Dilemma. I think was also that year, right? Like,
Yeah,
with Kelly Rowland.
the texting on Excel song, yeah.
Yeah. So it's I think is Hot in Here close to the top of like my favorite Nelly songs. It doesn't make top 5 for sure, probably. So, but when I look at just the rest of this year, it's what I had left to pick from. I I wasn't taking. Here's what I had left. The only other one that I might have picked was Always on Time by Ja Rule, just because to experience Ja Rule, man, that was something to experience some Ja Rule back in the day. But you know, give a little love to the St. Louis guy. And Hot in Here was huge. I mean, you know, it a little awkward of listening to that song in the car with your mother when that one comes on. Not as weird as the time I was in the car with my mom and the Bad Touch came on the radio.
Oh God.
Let's
Oh
go.
no.
Me and my,
That's true.
I'll never forget this. Me and my mom just looked at each other. I'm like, Mom, are they talking about what I think they're talking about? She's like, yes, let's not speak about this anymore. My very
Oh
lovely
God.
conservative Christian mother.
A moment.
It was a,
Good bonding moment.
we'll always have that. So, but yeah, I mean, Hot in Here.
Yeah.
I don't think a lot has to be said about it. It's you probably know the song if you're listening to this podcast. I would think so.
So my hot take on that is, for as small a year as that is, that's not even in my top 5.
Weirdly, and I'm like a certified Nelly hater. It was in my top 5. That's just I don't like this year,
Yeah.
but
Is that
Yeah,
year closed out?
that year's now closed out.
yeah.
It's not. Oh, it is. Okay. So I had just for reference, I had Ashanti's Foolish number 2, Always on Time at 3.
Yeah.
I had Lose Yourself at 4, and then I had Ain't It Funny by Jennifer Lopez at 5. So yeah,
Yeah.
sorry.
Little different than me, but that's what makes music great.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't have any specific memories of hearing Hot in Here with my mom. I do remember when my cousin got married, my grandmother, who was born in 1925, dancing to Hot in Here, which is a very St. Louis anecdote. I mean, obviously, people outside of St. Louis listen to Hot in Here. I don't think they quite had like this is like a hymn like it was in St. Louis, but
There's no country grammar in terms of its hymnness, but
very Pharrell song though. The production sounds very Pharrell.
yeah, the very dun dun dun, 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 dun. Yeah, that's all right.
All right, Tyler, you are up.
All right, I'm gonna be picking from the year 2000 because it's the only one that's still open, I guess. I'm torn.
Do it.
I've debated on this so much, and I'm just gonna go ahead and throw it out there. Sorry, I shouldn't say too much because Jason hasn't picked yet. I want to pick a song on here so badly, but I would be lying if I actually think it's the best song of what's remaining. This is
Take it. I know the song that you're debating on. I can feel
no,
it.
you don't actually, because it's
I
actually
don't.
not that song. Yeah, he's going off of an earlier pick I had.
Oh no, I'm not.
Oh, okay. I'm torn between, do I take the song that is everyone believes is a better song or the song I like more? All right.
It's your team, bro.
Oh God, he's gonna take Creed, isn't he?
With my 9th pick or 8th pick in this draft, out of the heaviest year, I'm taking the clear cut number 1 leftover. It's Say My Name, Destiny's Child.
Yeah, that was my number 2 song from 2000. It's great.
I will show my hand once Jason picks more, but there are 2 other songs that I wanted to pick them because they are songs I really like, but Say My Name is just it's such an anthem. It's so good. It's just one of those songs, like, it get anywhere you're at, it will just get the whole crowd just moving, going. It's iconic. I mean,
Yeah.
it's really Destiny's Child, like, I think it was, like, I mean, they had other songs like Bills, Bills, Bills and stuff, but, like, that and then later on Independent. I'm saying too much now. Um, Say My Name, I think was I think it's their biggest song, their most iconic song, their breakout song. It's all that. So
Yeah, I think of the number one songs that Destiny's Child did, I think this is by far the best one, personally. So I think, I mean, not that you could have picked Bootylicious or Independent Women, but I think you made the right call, regardless.
So this one was not in my top 5 for 2000.
it's a big year.
I'm not even going to hate on that because 2000's a really
Yeah.
good year, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a huge year. Yeah.
All right. So with my next pick, I'm going to close out the year 2005. This is a song that is I referenced this artist much earlier in the episode by saying that I was not going to take All I Want for Christmas Is You, because it's been played enough. I'm not a huge Mariah Carey fan, honestly, in general, but I think We Belong Together is like a really good song. I think it is like easily her best song of the 2000s. There were some other '05 songs I liked a little bit more, but the artists were taken, so including yeah, I was really thinking about Candy Shop relatively early just to jump on the 50 train, but yeah, We Belong Together is you know, kind of like one of the I kind of make this joke sometimes about Mariah Carey being like somebody that has more number one songs than anyone but the Beatles, but like most of them just not being memorable. Like most of them just kind of come and go. And honestly, We Belong Together is kind of like that. Like this is like this like We Belong Together is literally the biggest number one song of the decade. And it's just not a song that comes up nearly as much as a lot of other ones we've picked. But I do think it's a really good song. I just think that, yeah, I
Isn't
mean,
We
it's
Belong
my.
Together isn't We Belong Together the Eminem diss track?
I
Is that
don't
the
know
one
a lot of
where
the
about
backstory
stalking?
of it.
And I think it's that song. I
Is that
could
not
be wrong.
obsessed?
I'd have to. Oh, you're right. It's Obsessed. You're correct.
Okay,
This was an aesthetically pleasing year for me because Jason took my number 2 and John took my number 3. So that's just that's just nice whenever we're all like 1, 2, 3. It just feels good.
nice.
Nice and cozy. So in a very
I
limited year.
I gave sincere consideration to the one Chris Brown song I actually like, but I just don't want Chris Brown on my team, man. I just
Not top 5.
That's fair.
if it was a little more of a banger, I'd go like it's like the Kanye principle, like, but Kanye is also just way better at music and also less problematic. He has bad takes. He doesn't actually like beat people. So,
There is that.
all right, Jason, you are up.
I sure am. Um, man, I'm just looking at '03 now, and gosh, I do not like my '03 stuff that's left that I can pick from. So I'm just gonna get out of the way so I can end at least with 2 happier notes. I like if I'm being honest with myself in terms of like what I'm gonna listen to the most of these songs that are left from '03, I'm gonna take Bump 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 by B2K of the 5 songs that are left. Um, you know,
And I had that third of the 5 remaining songs, so yeah, that's fine.
yeah, yeah, it's a fine song. I'm not a big, J-Lo fan. Sean Paul, not my jam. The funny thing is I did have a Clay Aiken phase, but This Is the Night is not the song of Clay Aiken's I was going to attempt to stand for, despite it being his only number one.
Gonna go for Invisible.
I was thinking more The Way, but Invisible, a song that was problematic when it came out, would be even more problematic today, probably. But I don't know. That was just purely the ones remaining. Like Stand Up was a close consideration.
Yes, Stand Up was my number
Ludacris,
one of the ones remaining.
yeah, but
Okay.
if I'm thinking, if I'm being true, honestly, for what I would listen to at this point, I'd probably pick Bump Up Bump over Stand Up, just because as much as I love Ludacris just yelling "Stand Up" for half the song, I'll
Yeah,
take
I
a
don't
little more
approve.
R&B poppy.
I don't approve of all those murders that B2K did in Kansas back in the day, but
That's
that is
BTK.
a BTK killer joke.
Yeah, say that was a.
We all love that one, right?
I mean,
Well,
as a true crime junkie, I like it, but big Dennis Rader fan are you? I mean,
I'm just glad John picked Hot in Here to protect Jason from having to pick Shaky Tail Feather.
Well, I did
I
not pick Hot in Here. Jason
I
picked Hot in Here.
actually
He
picked
protected
it to
himself.
prevent myself from having to make that choice. So
I can't pick a song that like samples the tomahawk chop. What are we doing here?
yeah,
Yes.
let me see you shake your tail, fella. Anyway,
Ugh. Awful. Just awful.
it's not good. All right, Tyler, you got 04 and 09 left by my count.
I believe so. I think that's my count as well. It doesn't really matter, I guess, because I'm going to get what I want out of this. Let's go. You know what? I'm going to save 04. I'll go to 09. And it's my number 2 pick, and that is Empire State of Mind, Jay-Z, and featuring Alicia Keys. Just great chorus. I of that year, I don't like a lot of the songs. I know everyone's picked now, but I don't like I really don't like the Jason Derulo song. I don't like the Britney Spears song. Never liked the Jay Sean song. Black Eyed Peas. That's a bad era of Black Eyed Peas.
Yeah. The
Um,
problem with 2009 is that Black Eyed Peas were number one for like a third of the year straight with 2
Yeah,
songs.
with 2 songs.
I just really don't like any of the artists or songs from that year, and that's why it really hurt early on when John took Gaga off the board, because I had nothing after that other than going with I mean, if I'm being honest, it's Empire State of Mind is an okay song, but something has to be number 2 for me, and here we are.
I'll outright say I do not like the song Empire State of Mind. I realize that you had to do what
Right,
you had to do. I find it a
right.
little bit perverse that Jay-Z's number one song of this decade, because he had some incredible songs in the 2000s. Like, the fact that his number ones were not,
Big
um,
Pimpin'.
99 Problems or Big Pimpin' or like, Take Over, to go back to diss tracks. The fact that it was I know you referenced the song Lucifer to me not too long ago, and I had that song in my head for a couple days. So,
Yep,
but
great song.
yeah, was not a single, much less a number one. So,
I mean, you're talking to a guy who the extent of like when I think of I like that Jay-Z stuff for the most of the part, it's like, hey, I like that collab album he did with Linkin Park. Like,
not even the one with Kanye going to the Linkin Park one.
I mean, I have a brand, man. I gotta stick to it.
All right, I've become so numb to your brand.
Hey, you just have to look at what I've done, okay? Anyway.
Okay. Moving on. I'm gonna go with a song that was my number one song of 2006. But both of you picked number one. Both of you picked your 2006s relatively early, and this person only has one hit, so wasn't really concerned about it being taken. I'm going with "Ridin' by Chameleon Air." It is just a song that speaking of like sort of like the instrumental hooks just really kind of bring you in, and obviously like I couldn't begin to like rap any of the song because it's just like rapid fire during the verses, but I think the chorus is just like a constant earworm and has kind of been there. So I appreciated the Weird Al parody of it, but I also feel like among people that I knew, and by people I knew I mean like nerdy white people in the suburbs in high school, kind of co-opted that, and like let's not lose sight of the original. The original is very good, and therefore I am picking it.
Yeah, it's funny, you talk about the parody of it. I remember watching I went down a rabbit hole a couple weeks ago and like got into like seeing, I guess it was like literally like an interview with like Chameleon talking about like the Weird Al song and stuff, and like he was like so supportive and everything of Weird Al, like where hip hop artists have maybe been some of the ones that are more trepidatious with Weird Al covers. Obviously, famously
Like Coolio,
Coolio,
famously,
yeah.
yeah.
But like he was like, "Bro, this is awesome." I mean, and that kind of stuff. I mean, but yeah, it's a certifiable like it's a bop when you hear, just the lead up before you even get the first kind of part, the like you're like, "Oh yeah, here we go." And we all thought we were riding dirty, but we didn't know what that really meant in the burbs. But
I definitely thought it was about speeding the first several times I heard it, because that's
yeah,
me being a very innocent young man. But
yeah,
It was not my top 5 from that year.
okay.
But I also thought '06 was a loaded year, just like 2000. So, I had is that year closed out, I believe?
yeah.
It is.
Yeah. I had, um, Neo's So Sick, Ludacris's Moneymaker, as songs I liked more, Sean Paul's Temperature. I don't I just think it's a heavy year. So, I mean, when I say it's not top 5, it's not for me personally, it's not a knock. It's just how I had everything else ranked.
Yeah, like I like Riding a lot. It's not my favorite of like my top songs from years, but I think '06 was like not necessarily a high absolute peak, but like a solid like tier peak, if that makes
Mm,
sense.
sure.
And so, since you mentioned the song "Moneymaker," is it the Big Short that's in? Because I definitely, when I was listening to that song, I was like, this was in a movie and it was done really well, and I'm totally blanking on what movie it is. And I went to its Wikipedia page and it mentioned no movies it was in. Does anybody remember this, or am I just gonna
I thought it was in
have to keep thinking
Goldmember
about this?
because it goes, "Yeah,
Like the Austin
baby,
Powers
yeah."
movie?
Isn't that the song?
Well, the movie Goldmember came out in like 2002, though. It would have been
But
quite a
at the
bit older than
beginning
the
of
song.
the or no, I'm thinking of am I thinking of Number One Spot? I'm thinking Number One Spot.
That's the one that samples Austin Power, or samples the
Yeah, yeah,
Quincy
yeah.
Jones
Yeah,
song
yeah.
that I can't remember the name of, but yeah. Right, Jason, you're
Yeah.
up.
All right. So the real question is, do I want to close it on 2000? I feel like I have to. Just with
We're
all
either
the
closing it on 2000 or 2008.
yeah, 2008. A couple of okay options left on the board. Um, just got to think of. It's probably honestly down to 2 for me, and I'm gonna go with Leona. No, I'm just kidding. That would kill John if I picked Bleeding Love, I think.
I mean, it's not my favorite song, but whatever.
But I think though this time I'm gonna go with the man who I didn't know how to pronounce his name the first time I read it because I thought it was just Florida. I'll go with Flo Rida. I'll go with Flo from '08. Everybody was singing about the apple bottom jeans. Honestly, the only other one of the ones left that I could select from that was in contention was Viva La Vida. 2 very different songs.
Yeah.
And Coldplay, not my favorite. This is probably one of the more palatable Coldplay songs, but Low, like, I mean, it got people talking about apple bottom jeans again. So I mean, like, it was just another one of the songs that was huge. And I mean, and it catapulted. I mean, Flow Rider was around, I'm sure if we looked into like the 2010s, you'd see more number ones from him probably.
Yeah.
You know,
I
he
think
had
that was his
some
first big song. And then like Right Round was
Right
in
Round.
'09.
Yeah, Right Round with an originally uncredited Kesha. But yeah, I mean, it was just a song that, again, as I was starting to go into college and stuff, that song was everywhere. I mean, and to this day, somebody walks in with says something about boots, I almost like instinctively always say with the fur. Um, just because I'm a dork, to be completely honest. But um, yeah, fun song. 1 to 10 left.
I had it at number 5, and then I had Coldplay at number 4 with Viva La Vida. So I don't think you were. I think that's pretty good, actually. Pretty good spot.
Yeah, my other remaining song that I had in the proximity was Lollipop, but I was never quite as into the Lil Wayne thing as some people
Yeah,
were, but
Lil Wayne was
yeah.
not ever really my jam, but alrighty.
All right, Tyler.
Last round.
What 2004 song are you picking?
Well, this 2004 song was memorable for me, not in 2004, but more in like 2010, 2011, even 12, because I swear every party I went to played this song, and it has some memories attached to it that I will not go into on this podcast. But I'm going with Juvenile Slow Motion.
Yeah,
I like it like that
that that,
at number 10. So, um,
that was my number one of what was
I
remaining.
yeah, it's I believe. Let me look at my list here. I kind of put it away. I actually had it because everything kind of got taken off because like I had Hey Y'all 1, Drop Like a Hot 2, Confessions number 3, number 4 was Yeah, but those are going to cancel each other out, and then I had Slow Motion at 5. I was debating between it and Lean Back by Terror Squad.
Yeah, same. Yeah.
But overall, I have more memories with Slow Motion than I do with Lean Back. So, um, yeah, that's how I'm gonna round it out. Probably end it with a fun song that I have fun memories with, but we won't go into any of those memories.
I like the idea of you having like an emotional connection to Slow Motion. I really would have loved you having an
Right?
emotional connection to Lean Back, but
Yeah.
yeah. R.I.P. Big Pun. You would have loved having a number one song for some reason. All right.
What you got, John? What's your last year?
Say 07.
2007 is my year, and I'm tied
All right.
between a couple White Soul songs. I am going to go with the last decent Maroon 5 song. I'm going to go with Makes Me Wonder.
Mm,
Um,
wow.
Songs About Jane was good. Makes Me Wonder was pretty good, and then they were drop offs after that, but I'll take it while I can. It was between that and What Goes Around Comes Around by Justin Timberlake, which is my favorite of that album. But happy to get another group in there just to feel like I have some sort of diversity by diversifying the white people that I have.
I agree with all your sentiments about Maroon 5. Songs About Jane is a fantastic album, and I will not hear any shade on that album. But if you want to drag Maroon 5 through the mud after that, I'm not gonna do your thing.
Oh, come on, Tyler. Payphone is such a good song.
I know it too well, unfortunately.
So that was another song that we were in our text group we were talking earlier about, like hearing the like the non-radio edits. That was one song that like the first time I heard it, like, oh, this seems unnecessarily jarring. When I heard the F-bomb at payphone, that's a random thing for the first time. But
Well,
It also makes me wonder.
well, yeah,
the problem is that I had this. So, Songs About Jane was great. The second album was fine, but I just still had this hope that like they're gonna like go back to that original sound. And I actually bought that third album of
Oh
Maroon
God.
5, and
oh, you poor thing, you poor thing.
it sucked. So
Yeah.
that's my own fault. So I'm not gonna sit here and act like I haven't made bad decisions in my life because I've made plenty of them.
Yeah, they went Maroon 5 basically went from being a band to being like Adam Levine's backing group, and that was the point that it just fell completely off. Because like, it makes me wonder, and then certainly like songs about Jane songs are like actually have like interesting instrumentals that the other ones later on don't. Uh, Moves Like Jagger, I believe I ranked it as my second least favorite number one song of the 2010s whenever I was commissioned to write about that. And they should just thank their stars every day that Rude by Magic exists.
Don't you know they're human too, John? Anyway,
Well, they're Canadian. I'm not sure how human they can really be.
fair point.
All right. Which 2000 song is Jason going to be picking?
Say, so how long should I drag this out for as I think through my thought process? When I look at all the songs that are left, I look at some of these that have very like sentimental, like "I Knew I Loved You," a song very, you know, that me and my wife. That's the first song we ever danced to. Like that was we were dating. "Amazed," my brother's wedding first dance song at his wedding with his wife. I'm a big Madonna fan. I'm not gonna lie, their music though just doesn't touch the earlier stuff. So if I'm gonna really pick what I think is the song I've listened to the most and the best, I know John has already taken Rob Thomas, but I am gonna go with that by Matchbox 20 as my song. Um, I'm I'm a big Matchbox 20 fan. Still listen to them regularly. I wouldn't say that Bent is my favorite song off that album, even. However, it's the only one that hit number one in this
Yeah, that's when
decade,
it's available to
so
you.
it's available. Um, my wife, if she was listening, she would actually beat me over the head because I didn't pick "It's Gonna Be Me." Um,
It's gonna be Me was my number 3 song on the list. So
the three I was deciding between that are left were Bent, "It's Gonna Be Me," and "Everything You Want" by Vertical Horizon. I actually really like that song. Um,
yeah, I
but
think we've gone through my top 6. I actually like the song Music. That was my number 5, I guess, or number 4. Um, Even though I learned the lyrics to the chorus yesterday, and I was like, oh, that's what she was saying all this time.
you didn't know what
I
music
did not
did until
realize
now.
Didn't know that she was saying the word bourgeoisie in there. I was 11 years old when that song came out. I did not know that word.
It's fair.
Um, yeah, Bent. This is embarrassing, but Bent. I remember hearing that song as so I'd have been like what 9 or 10 at the time when that song came out, and I had my association word with the word bent when he's like, "Please help me, I'm bent." I was always heard my dad talk about being bent out of shape, so I was always like, Why is this guy mad? Like he wants to be put back together because he's mad." I like that's what I always thought. I was like, "Oh
Mhm.
well, not exactly what he's going for here." As I got older and really looked at the lyrics closer. Um, oh, that year though, guys, I had Creed with Arms Wide Open number in my top 5.
I
Of
thought that was
course.
the one you were struggling and gonna go with. Like
Yeah,
that's
I was trying to make you guys think that. Um, but I wanted to go ahead and tell you now, it was on my top 5. It's actually the only
huh.
song I've ever seen my dad cry to. Because my sister was born in 2000, and the song's talking about his in the
Oh
song,
God.
it's his daughter being born, and my dad really took to the lyrics because my mom was pregnant with my sister at the time that song was all over the radio. But the actual song I was going with between "Say My Name" was absolutely love "Try Again" by Aaliyah. That was a song I was going with. Do I go with the song that everyone knows and loves, or do I go with the song that I really, really, really like here?
Hmm.
And then the last comment I have on 2000s, because we could talk all about it. Uh, the Vertical Horizon song "Everything You Want" is a simp classic, and every time
Yeah.
I hear that song, I just think of the meme where the girl's like talking to the guy, and she says, "Oh my gosh, I wish I could meet a guy like you," and the guy's like, "I am a guy like me." And so every time I hear that song, I just think of that stupid meme. So it's yeah, that's my thoughts on 2000.
Yeah, so I'm gonna let Jason be the barometer on this. Which is the more embarrassing song for somebody on this podcast, dad, to have cried to? With Arms Wide Open by Creed, or the time that I saw my dad crying to the music video of If Everyone Cared by Nickelback?
I mean, I think given the circumstances behind Tyler's, that's more understandable. Like, and you're pulling at the heartstrings, of the father of two here when you give me the barometer. So I think I'll say the Nickelback one is more embarrassing.
He was also pretty drunk whenever this happened. I can't speak to
Well, you said he
what
was listening to
Tyler's.
Nickelback, so
Yeah, that's also Tyler's reference to the simp anthem remind me of the classic tweet that I'm going to read off. I'm pretty sure the original person deleted their account, but the tweet that somebody stole said, "It's very stupid when girls say they can't find a guy, yet they ignore me. It's like saying you are hungry when there's a hot dog outside on the ground." And I subscribe to that theory.
Yeah, well
yeah, I
said.
mean, yeah, there's all the. I was a sucker in that time period for anything simpy or campy that I could put as my song on my MySpace page as I rotated like different girls I had crushes on through my like top friends. So
I do want to be fair to Vertical Horizon. Their song "Best I Ever Had" is a good song. I don't want it to come across like I hate Vertical Horizon or they didn't have their place. I like "Best I Ever Had." So
Yeah, that one's not bad.
and shout out to Cisco for having a number one hit in 2000.
absolutely.
It is it is unbelievable to me that Cisco had a number one hit and it wasn't Thong
The
Song, which
thong
is
song.
by far the song that I most associate with him, even though it's like objectively a terrible song.
Uh,
I do want to.
Any
I do
other?
want to.
I was gonna say any other thoughts on various songs anyone wants to point out?
Yeah, can we just talk about the American Idol boost that some of these songs
Yeah,
got?
Taylor Hicks had a number one song. Fantasia had a
yeah.
number one song. It's
Carrie Underwood had a number one song in there, but it's not even close to
what?
a recognizable Carrie
Yeah,
Underwood song.
yeah. If you told somebody Carrie Underwood had a number one song in the 2000s, you're like, oh, so there was a number one song before He Cheats was a number one song. No, it was
Jesus
a
Take the
song you have
Wheel.
not heard. It was not a song you have heard since 2005. I definitely had to
Yeah.
listen to it again to remind myself of what it was.
Inside Your Heaven.
Not to take up all the screen time, but I do want to give a quick RIP to the lead singer of Crazy Town, passing away the
Yeah.
last week.
Yeah.
So, come my lady,
Yeah.
come my lady.
Yeah, I won't talk about my feelings on that song out of respect for the recently deceased, but I'm not a fan of
Yeah.
that song.
I mean, it sucks he died. I can't say I was really considering putting it up there, but
Yeah.
What a time.
I mean, okay, so a song that I'll throw out is just like a song that I love. I didn't pick, but had been taken, I would have taken is I love the song Slow Jams by Twista. Like
old
because
Marvin
like
Gaye, some Luther Vandross. Yeah.
a little, yeah. I mean it's such a good song. And another Jamie Foxx feature randomly on the song. But like to see that song was a number one hit, I was like, oh, that's so fun because Twista was a guy who, if anyone doesn't know him, his basic thing was he could just rap really fast, and that's what he did in every song he was in, and I liked that song a lot.
Yeah, it's a good song. And what are your guys' thought? I'm gonna say what your thoughts because I'll just say I like of his songs. I like Overnight Celebrity probably the best.
Yeah, I'd agree. That's probably a better song than Slow Jams.
But
You know, he's
that
got
Slow Jams had I believe Slow Jams was a Kanye produced song, correct? I know he's a feature,
Yeah,
but I think it was produced
yeah.
by Kanye.
Yeah.
So I actually had forgotten who it was by, but the playlist I was listening to kind of remind myself was it was on like the college dropout extended version. I was like, is that a Kanye song? I don't. Okay, but it was indeed Twista.
So I believe is it Twista? I think who has my. I don't, he features on another song that I really like. It's not. It's not Let's Go, is it? He's not a feature on that one, is he?
Like on the song that sampled Crazy Train.
Samples Crazy Train. I don't think he does.
No,
Is he? There's one where
he features
he
like on American Boy. I'm trying to think of what other songs he featured on in the 2000s.
yeah, I'm trying to look it up. There's a feature verse that he has that I love.
He featured on Make Her Say, which I referenced earlier.
Yeah. I don't know. It's not counting me. But
I gotta be honest, Jason. I took you for a Hey Delilah guy.
oh, I fought the plain white tees quite a bit. I had friends who yes, I very much hung out in kind of that emo crowd in that time period. Um that I just fought against them, which is funny as much as like I think back to like the previous years, like a song that's not on here, but like that I definitely like angsty teenage listened to a bunch was "Crazy for This Girl" by Evan and Jared.
I
Like,
know that song. Yeah, that
yeah,
was on
I mean,
Now
it's
Six.
yeah, I mean, it's like with and like
That was a
I look,
while earlier though, right? That was like
That was
I
01 or so,
2000.
probably.
I
I
think it
thought
was
it was
2000.
yeah, it was early, but like that was one that like I remember listening to in my angsty time. So like, hey there, Delilah came out. I was like, no, I'm not gonna do this one, and just never really got into plain white tees. It's hit or miss just randomly with stuff, but you know, it's
Um, I'm curious to get your guys' thoughts on this one. Um, I'm going to state the question. I'll give you my answer. What was the song that was not a number one that you were like pretty much like thought for damn sure? Oh, that was a number one song. I remember that being number one, and it wasn't on the list. Mine for me, before I even looked at this list, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna have this as like a top five pick if I get it. I could even see John and Jason having it as a top five pick. And the song is so it's the one that really like changed and had the biggest impact on like my musical taste and my biggest musical influence. And that was In the End by Linkin Park. That did not go number one.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of what my pick for that sort of like designation would be.
so it isn't one that I
I
would have
mean,
wanted
honestly,
to pick,
And it was
but
number two, by the way. It only got to number two, not number one though.
yeah. I mean, honestly, Crazy by Gnarls Barkley, if Jason and I haven't been
Yeah,
discussing it for the entire time we've known each other, would probably
yeah,
be up there.
it's an odd
it's a great
cornerstone
song.
of our friendship.
No, can I join you guys on that? Because I had XM radio before Sirius XM, and I got in that year in '06 whenever that song was everywhere. And I can I join your trio on this song or your
Bring it in.
duo?
We
Oh,
accept
it's
all.
great. Yeah, it rules. Yeah, we take anyone we can into the club.
So to answer the question then, Tyler, one that I was surprised at, and it only hit number three. And maybe it's because the first job I had, I worked at a place that had like go-karts and bumper cars and that kind of stuff. So they played music outside. But as first in the summer of 2006, I was surprised that Lips of an Angel wasn't number one because that song was every freaking where. It's not a good song,
Yeah. Oh, it's
but like
horrible. Yeah, that's not a bad choice though.
yeah, because I just remember like it didn't matter if they were playing it on like I mean, for St. Louis people, you get the state like they had on like Y98 a bunch of times. Sometimes it'd be on Z, but then they do the country station, and that's on be on a country station. And
Great karaoke song.
it's really good.
Yeah. It is. It's up there for songs that are best karaoke songs that are not good songs. I believe, Tyler, I think we were at a karaoke bar when a guy sang
Yes.
it. We were just like roaring the lyrics to it, even though like
Yes.
none of us
Oh,
thought it
yeah.
was a good song.
No,
Correct.
I could definitely see, yeah, if somebody busted that out and if I'd had a drink or two, oh yeah, I would have been right there with
I
you guys.
have that song is a core memory for all the right reasons. And the reason I say for all the right reasons is because
Photograph.
Photograph.
Yeah.
My baseball season that year, the guys that grade ahead of me, they were just blasting that Nickelback record with Photograph and Animal, and then there was Lips of an Angel. It was just like, man, this is some angsty,
Primo
just
butt
very
rock.
testosterone. Yeah, just like, man, what are we doing, guys? But man, we were loving the moment. So I can't sit here and just say like, yeah, now Lips of an Angel hasn't aged well, but I can't deny it. I was singing along to it back in the day with everyone else.
I think I thought of what my top. How is this number one song? Should probably let my dog get his barking out of the way before I announce it. But so we mentioned "With Arms Wide Open" as being a number one song. How is "Higher" not a number one song? That's wild to me.
Yeah.
That
"Higher"
is
was
kind of crazy.
everywhere.
Yep. I thought One Last Breath hit number one actually, so I was surprised by that. I felt like Creed songs either went number one or no one knew what they were.
Yeah, I could see like "My Sacrifice" too. Like that's sort of
August 9th, I'll be at Creed. Just FYI, be look out.
all right. I hope you have a lot of fun.
I will. I'll also have fun at Limp
All
Bizkit
right.
on July 18th.
All right. This is maybe a weird song, but it was a question that I was contemplating. What's a song that was number one that like you remember being a big hit, but you feel is just like completely memory hold? Like it was big at the time, but you just haven't thought about it in like 15, 20 years, whatever. I have an answer ready if you need me to say mine.
Yeah, go ahead. Let me think about that one as I'm kind of going through the list to just jog my memory.
I remember the song "Come On Over" by Christina Aguilera being like an enormous song at the time. I don't think I've heard that. I think listening to it a couple days ago was the first time I'd heard that song in at least 20 years. It has just completely disappeared. And like, there are actually a couple Christina Aguilera songs in here, but like I've heard Lady Marmalade, I've heard What a Girl Wants, which I assumed that our Oklahoma City Thunder fan here was going to pick because of Shea Gilgeous-Alexander and Chet Holmgren's stirring cover of it on the AT&T commercial.
Oh yeah,
But
wonderful.
heard those songs. Have not heard "Come On Over" recently.
I think the question you're asking, what song was a big hit that just kind of got memory hold? I I I I don't know. It's kind of a weird one. I don't know if it was actually that big of a hit, but I just remember hearing "Angel" by Shaggy everywhere, and then I haven't really
Yeah,
heard it since then.
yeah, that's a good pick. I mean, honestly, like the Shaggy moment, I feel like is like it wasn't even such a novelty song that like I'm not surprised that people aren't listening to it all the time. It was a
Yeah,
huge song in like my sixth grade class or whatever, but it was people just thought it was the idea of somebody banging on the bathroom floor was just so funny that it had to be the biggest song in the world.
yeah. With "Angel," my core memory is middle school, and that had either been fifth or sixth grade. but whichever one it was, the field trip at the end of the year is we got to go to a skating rink. Ooh. And I remember they'd have these things called couple skates where you'd boy and a girl would like hold hands while they skate around the circle and they'd play Angel by Shaggy. And it was kind of this like, oh, did you see Tyler and so couple skate to Angel by Shaggy? Stupid memory.
All memories are welcome here.
Are valid. I don't know. I feel like one that maybe, and maybe it's just myself, but like I feel like Grills was huge for a very short period of time, and because
That's a
it was
good pick
like
too.
it hit like the perfect time when like Paul Wall was probably at his peak as well. So it's just, but like when you talk about like, oh, Nelly songs, like Grills is just not gonna come up very often, I don't think so.
You know what? Let's stay in 2006 because one of a few overrated songs of the 2000s is in '06. A song I never got the hype of, and I still don't get the hype of, is "Sexy Back" by Justin Timberlake. I have just never seen the appeal of that song, and to me it's one of the to me it's an overrated song. I mean, it's fine, but how big of a song that was, it just never stuck with me like it did for others.
Yeah, like I said, it was like I like it, it's fine, but it was definitely over.
Yeah. That's
Yeah, I karaoke that song with Jason one time where he basically just did the yeah part, like the Timberland, like the sexy on part.
I was surprised Rock Your Body wasn't a number one. Sticking with kind of a
Oh,
Justin Timberlake.
yeah, that's we're priming a reader for that matter. Yeah, that's a good point. Speaking of Justin Timberlake, memory hold songs, the Janet Jackson number one songs. Has anyone heard the Janet Jackson number one songs since those years? Because I haven't.
The one song I've heard from her is not a number one song, and that's All For You.
All For You, yeah.
And it's
Yeah,
not
if you had
number
told
one.
me that, yeah, if you had told me she had a number one song from the 2000s, that definitely would have been my guess. But
Yeah.
no.
Yeah. No, I mean, it doesn't really matter, John.
I think a surprising thing too is I guess it really took off in the 2010s more so is Lone Stars and Maze being the only country number one.
Yeah, that like because it was definitely a big decade. Because I wonder if like part of like what kind of kept because there definitely were a lot of like big pop songs in like the late '90s, like Shania Twain and stuff like that. I wonder if like the like sort of schism between like country radio and the Dixie Chicks, if it like made pop radio like it seems so weird to be like 9/11 changed everything when talking about like the popularity of country music on pop radio, but like it kind of might have.
Yeah. But it really
Like
did.
I
I
real
mean, not to go down a country rabbit hole but I mean, a lot of the songs post 9/11 were I mean, they were pro war songs or very heavily pro America, like patriotism. So, I mean, people can
yeah.
only take so much of that, and the country they found their cash cow and they just drove that thing all the way to the bank. And pop radio is not
Yeah,
going to play that type of stuff.
but don't worry, country has reversed course and has just spent 20 years writing songs about drinking. So we've
Great.
especially drinking and
Something we can all relate to.
I don't support the drinking and driving part that I mentioned, but drinking, yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's just honestly, like if you're gonna pick a song though from that era, you talk about 9/11. We saw like "Rockin' Around the Christmas Tree" in 2024 being a number one song. How the heck was Lee Greenwood not number one post 9/11? So they were playing that sucker everywhere.
Yeah, I feel like there was a point like like the way that they calculated number one songs changed. Like that's why the Christmas song started charting again in 2019, but like hadn't been prior. It's just the methodology just kind of changes everything. Like it's part of the same reason that like that one week earlier this year Taylor Swift had like 10 of the top 11 songs on the charts. It wasn't because she had 10 singles; she had one single, but just like she streamed a lot, so it
Yeah.
all jumped up. All right, that's. I think we've covered every single thing about the 2000s. We've covered a lot of songs. We've covered 9/11. We've covered.
BTK
We
killer.
could sure. We've mentioned Kanye. I guess I can point out the George W. Bush doesn't care about black people thing, just to like cover all of the like social moments of that decade. I met Jason in the 2000s. Um, I I should have looked up what song would have been number one when we met. Um,
So that would have been what? Winter
like
09?
early 09, yeah. Or the Black Eyed Peas took the world, but I'm not. It might have been like maybe like My Life Would Suck Without You or something like that. And
That'd be
that's
fitting.
truly how I feel.
That would be fitting.
That's beautiful.
Because we belong together. Anyway.
All right. So I feel like before we get out of here, and while my dog's in a brief break from barking, I should repeat the songs that were chosen. I'll list them in chronological order by person. Tyler had "Say My Name" by Destiny's Child, "Miss Jackson" by Outkast, "How You Remind Me" by Nickelback, "In the Club" by 50 Cent, "Slow Motion" by Juvenile, "Gold Digger" by Kanye West, "SOS" by Rihanna, "Say It Right" by Nelly Furtado, "Whatever You Like" by T.I., and "Empire State of Mind" by Jay-Z. I had "Smooth" by Santana, uh, "Fallen" by Alicia Keys, "Lose Yourself" by Eminem, "Crazy in Love" by Beyonce, "Drop It Like It's Hot" by Snoop Dogg, "We Belong Together" by Mariah Carey. Sorry, lost track there. "Riding" by Chamillionaire, "Makes Me Wonder" by Maroon 5, "Womanizer" by Britney Spears, and "Poker Face" by Lady Gaga. Jason had "Bent" by Matchbox 20, "Family Affair" by Mary J. Blige, "Hot in Here" by Nelly, "Bump Bump Bump" by B2K, not to be confused with BTK, "Yeah" by Usher, "Let Me Love You" by Mario, "You're Beautiful" by James Blunt, "Girlfriend" by Avril Lavigne, "Low" by Flo Rida, and "Fireflies" by Owl City.
I just want to say I do appreciate Jason's diversity of songs because that is a list right there. That's a playlist.
It took some turns.
I mean, I think it really just encompasses me as a person.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I like to think that we learned a lot about ourselves during this exercise.
100%. Just like the movie one, you know.
Yeah. We are who we are, to quote a song that I think was number one in 2010, but
We letter R who we letter R.
that's right. All right. Tyler, I think you have a new Twitter account since the last time you were on the podcast, if you want to advertise
Oh
that or
gosh,
whatever
yeah.
else you want.
Since my hacked Twitter and I need more followers, so please feel free to follow me at tallmantake, TALLMANTAKE. You'll see a picture of Chet Holmgren wearing some slick shades. Follow me on there, and you'll see my original content if you followed me on my old platform.
All right, Jason, where can the people find you?
Find me on the Twitters as well at Draft Day Dadshaw. I was looking the other day and I'm up to like way more followers than I thought. And then I'm like, I'm pretty sure like 90% of these are bots, but hey, I'll take the clout.
You may not have heard because you were off Twitter for a while, but Elon actually did away with the bots, so you don't have to worry about that.
Wow, if only I believed that.
So if a girl sends you a message saying
Are you saying she's
like something
genuinely
about
interested?
If she says something about nudes, you can respectfully decline, but there's nothing else you can do.
Yeah, it's really interesting that these girls really like eggplants.
Like
Or as
eggplant's
they,
good, man. I'm not.
I mean, or as they call them in the UK, aubergines.
The British are so weird.
I mean,
This is what Independence Day weekend's all about. There are a lot of things about America that I don't like, but at least we're not British.
yeah, I mean, the funniest moment, one of my funniest moments I've ever experienced on the 4th of July was summer, I think between my junior and senior years of high school. The 4th of July, I went to a concert and Def Leppard comes out and they're like, "Happy 4th of July." And we're like, wait a minute. This is kind of weird that you guys are going to celebrate this with us, but all right.
They're playing at Busch Stadium on Saturday. Maybe they'll do it then too.
Mhm.
I mean, Jason, let's be fair. We all go around singing Happy Cinco de Mayo. So,
I mean, I just use
Yeah,
it as
I
an
can.
excuse to order Mexican food, but I don't like say, "Hey, happy Cinco de Mayo." I
Yeah,
say
I'm just
may the
imagining.
I say Revenge of the Fifth. Still a Star Wars day, so
I imagine a bunch of British people are like going up to like McDonald's as like their big thing to do tomorrow or whatever.
I'll have to ask my boss's boss. He's British, but he's also got dual citizenship with the U.S. now. So
All right.
and John, where can
Anyway,
people
from
find you?
you can follow me at JohnJF125 on any of the social media, and follow St. Louis Bullpen whenever feel like writing things about baseball. The last time Jason and I did a podcast, Willie Mays died during it. I don't really check social media. I don't think any like legendary athletes died in the last few hours, but I guess I should check that before I speak too soon. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have. If anyone else has any parting words before we wrap up, let's hear them.
Thank you, Tyler, for coming on. Always a
Yeah,
pleasure to
thank
have
you.
you on the podcast, man.
anytime. I enjoyed doing this with you guys.
All right, bye everybody.
Happy
See you
Independence
guys.
Day.